Hello, people. Welcome back to the OCM Botcast. I am your host, Chad Marco. Yes, I know. Stop. It is so great to be back with you guys. It's a new year, and I've already said this, but I'm not really into the whole new year, new me thing. That's not really my vibe. But still, right? I think at the very least, we can look at the fact that we made it into a new year and say, look, we survived another crazy year in this crazy world. And we have an entire year to look forward to, which is in essence an opportunity to experience new things. It's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to do so much with ourselves. And moving forward into the new year, I just plan on continuing my journey into self-improvement and overcoming any and all obstacles that might get into my way. But that's pretty much my New Year's speech. So I hope you weren't expecting too much in that regard. But today's episode is called "We Cannot Compete." So you're probably wondering, what do I mean by that? So I found this thread on R9K that was a collection of posts from a website called Crystal Cafe, which apparently is predominantly occupied and used by women. And it was a thread that they had where they were talking about their boyfriends. And so this post was a collection of several posts from that thread, pretty much showing how the guys that these girls are dating are completely out of our league, right? Like at least as far as like the average robot, right? So the basic theme of the main topic today is diving into these posts and comparing our lowly selves to the awesome boyfriends of these girls from Crystal Cafe. But it's gonna be a very interesting point that I'm gonna make on that though, so you definitely want to stay tuned. But other than that, also that's gonna be the main topic and the thread of the day simultaneously, right? But other than that, everything's gonna be about the same. We got some OC comments, news, etc. But I know you guys are wondering when drill music is coming out. So I ran into a bit of an issue. So you guys know that I'm broke, which means I have no money. And my DistroKid subscription, and that's how I get my music on streaming platforms or whatever. My subscription is running out and they want $20 right now. And so in order for me to go ahead and upload the mixtape, I need to get $20. And that's something that I don't have because I quit my job, right? There are consequences for your actions. But if any of you guys have anything you could donate to, preferably the PayPal, because super chats and stuff like that, I can't receive that money until I reach a certain threshold. But if any of you guys have money to donate, the quicker I get up, I scrounge up $20, the quicker I can go ahead and upload drill music, because it's basically about done at this point. Anything I do now is just extra, just adding on to it. But yeah, that's pretty much the hold up right there. I'm trying to scrape up $20 to renew my DistroKid subscription. So any help in that regard would be greatly appreciated. And other than that, everything's about the same with me. I'm doing good, and just I think going into the second half of this month, I'm gonna step up my job search efforts. I have been kind of taking it easy, enjoying the neat life, but I think it's good to kind of take some extra time. Not like I was pressed for time when I was working my part-time job anyway. But I have been just taking extra time to kind of try to get myself into a good routine, without having the job at the center of that, right? Because one thing about having a job that definitely helped keep me, I think it helped keep me kind of balanced, because I had somewhere where I was expected to be, right? There was a place where I was expected to perform a job and service for payment, and having to do that routine week in and week out, it definitely added a bit more stability to my life, right? Because I had to stick to a certain sleep schedule and whatnot to show up to work on time and stuff like that. So without that, I've had to kind of reestablish balancing my life, so to speak. But I think right now I'm in a pretty good flow, right? I feel great and just having fun and just doing the typical self-improvement stuff, working on my content creator. My goal of becoming the greatest content creator ever, and music, working out, take care of myself, etc., etc. But enough about me. Let's get to business. So we got to get the Buddha quote of the day. So this quote says, "Hate is not conquered by hate. Hate is conquered by love. This is law eternal." Now, look, I know that sounds nice, right? I get what it's trying to say because I look at my own community and you guys know that the whole business of the cycle of violence that you see so often in the projects, in the hoods and whatnot. You kill my homie, I kill you, right? It's the cycle of hate and violence and whatnot. So I get what it's trying to say. But I also think, realistically speaking, sometimes you gotta sometimes you gotta take a motherfucker out. Right? Some people are beyond redemption, and no amount of love is going to be what it takes to prevent them from causing further destruction. But look, it's a cute quote. I get it though. I'm just just trying to play devil's advocate here. And so the next one says, "This contemplation is one which I, mindful, enter upon, and mindful, emerge from." And the sense that I get from this one is that when you're contemplating or thinking about something, reflecting on something, make sure that you're doing so in the proper state of mind. You see a lot of people talking about mindfulness, living in the present, being present and whatnot. And so that's what I try to do whenever I reflect. I try to get into the right mindset. I try to connect myself to the highest self within myself, so to speak, the universe or whatever. And just make sure I'm in the proper mindset so that I can get the absolute truth out of myself, and I can analyze it to the best of my abilities and make proper decisions. But that was the Buddha quotes of the day. And so next we're gonna get into some news. I'm gonna get a sip of water. This one's gonna be good. So today's news is about the arrest of Andrew Tate, aka the Top G. Top G, Andrew Tate. So let me give you guys a bit of a background on what I know about Andrew Tate. So first off, I'm not an Andrew Tate fanboy. I don't follow his work. I don't follow what he does in social media and whatnot. But at the same time, he's someone that's he's hard to ignore. But part of the reason why I don't follow him is because, now I've heard of him before he started getting really popular. I saw him in a picture with Jordan Peterson's daughter one time. I think he made a tweet about Star Wars Star Wars that went viral. But then at some point he started getting really popular. And I noticed that there were a lot of threads about him that were posted on R9K. And there was just something about it that I didn't think was natural or organic. It almost seemed like people were shilling for him. And, I don't want to get caught up in that sort of thing, right? So I've been kind of forcing myself to ignore him. But again, he's hard to ignore because he always seems to be popping up in the headlines and whatnot. But so I have been following him closely. But I've seen that bits and pieces of his message of trying to encourage men to be more masculine. And some people would say he's misogynistic towards women. He's a multi-millionaire playboy, has different businesses. Some would say he's a grifter. And he talks about, escaping from the matrix, rebelling against the system that doesn't have our best interests at heart, right? So, and I think, again, and this is just based off of the bits and pieces that I know of him, I hesitate to put him in the same category as what I consider to be the red pill or the manosphere. Now, it's undeniable that he's red pill adjacent, right? But I think there are certain elements to his message that are a bit too extreme compared to what I see within the guys that I follow in the red pill, right? But undeniably, like he falls somewhere under that umbrella, just more so on the outskirts, in my opinion, right? And I'll go more into that later. But recently he got arrested, and the charges against him are sex trafficking, rape, sexual, things of that nature, right? Typical famous guy shit. Okay, maybe not the sex trafficking charge, but rape, sexual assault, that's normal, right? Chris Brown, Trey Songz, Tupac, Mike Tyson, now Kyson, like this is normal stuff. Wasn't what happened? I think Jake Paul went through this a while ago too. I think too. Oh no. I think his situation was a bit more subtle. But yeah, I mean this is normal shit. But as we're gonna see, Andrew Tate's case is a bit more. I think his case is a bit different because I think he's in trouble. I'll put it like that. Let's get into it. So the article says, Andrew Tate arrest. Romanian authorities seize 4 more luxury cars. Fresh haul follows 11 cars already taken in investigation into social media influencer who is due in court next week. Romanian authorities have seized 4 more luxury cars as part of an investigation into the controversial online influencer and misogynist Andrew Tate before a court appearance next week. I love how they just boldly called him a misogynist, right? I'm not saying it's not true or not, but because again, I don't follow him that closely, but normally, like that's a bold claim, man. But I guess that's the climate we live in anyway. The 36-year-old former professional kickboxer who has been banned from a number of social media platforms for misogynistic comments and hate speech was detained along with his brother Tristan in the county last week as part of a human trafficking and rape investigation. On Friday, an official said prosecutors investigating the case had seized another 4 vehicles on Thursday after 11 cars were taken in raids. At least 7 of the seized cars are registered to the Tate brothers. More than 10 properties or land owned by companies registered to them have also been seized, which will be used to pay for the investigation and pay damages to victims if they are convicted. Ramona Bola, a spokesperson for Romania's Directorate for Investigating Organized Crime and Terrorism, said. Now, the thing that concerns me about this, right now, it says that they're taking their cars, they're taking their properties. Now, I'm assuming that the logic is that, look, if they made the money to purchase, or if they purchase these cars, these properties, these valuable items with money that was made through illegal means or harmful means such as sex trafficking, I'm assuming the logic is that, okay, since they made the money illegally, we have the right to take what they bought with that money. That's kind of how they do drug dealers. When they bust drug dealers, a lot of times, not only will they arrest them, they'll take whatever money they have, jewelry, properties, cars, because the assumption is that they bought everything with drug money. Because you don't hear very often stories of big time kingpin drug dealers getting arrested and then getting out and then everything is fine, right? You're not like, you look at the guy who's at the head of BMF, for example, Big Meech. He's not gonna get out and just have a big mansion waiting for him. I mean, unless he has something on the side set up, I'm sure like certain people might look out for him because he's a big name, but for the most part, these guys, they don't come out and then have a mansion to walk back into. They don't have fancy cars to hop back into. They kind of got to start from scratch again. Most of the time that is, because the police, they take everything. And so again, I'm assuming that that's their logic. But what kind of concerns me about this is that if they're not convicted, are they going to be given everything back? Because if they're using this to pay for because look, the investigation is going to happen whether they're guilty or not. So are they going to use these assets to pay for the investigation? And then whatever it costs, they're gonna wipe their hands clean of it. Like, okay, well, you were found not guilty, but look, we still had to pay for it. Like, to me, that would be very sketchy if they did some shit like that. But we'll see. So a statement from the agency, which did not name the Tates, who grew up in Luton, Bedfordshire, said 2 British citizens and 2 Romanians were suspected of being part of a criminal group focused on human trafficking. The Tate brothers have been under criminal investigation in Romania since April last year and were arrested in Bucharest, and excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, I don't know what these locations are, on the 29th of December on charges of human trafficking, rape, and forming an organized crime group. So as you can see, these are very serious, heavy charges being aimed against them. And this isn't the typical one girl said that you raped me type thing. Like when you get human trafficking, that's that extra level, right? A rape accusation, sexual assault accusation, that's one thing. But human trafficking, that's that next level. Cause I think the guys who ran the Girls Do Porn site, I think they got hit with something similar. And so, yeah, that's worrying. And also forming an organized crime group. You see now what's happening with some of these rap labels, these rap labels / gangs like YSL. What happened with Bobby Shmurda several years ago. You know, they look at these groups as like now I listed rap groups as an example, but you can consider Andrew Tate as like a social media influencer group, right? His team. I think they're looking at it the same way. The same way they aim these RICO charges against these rap groups / gangs, they probably looking at them the same way. Like, just imagine if like Fresh and Fit, and now this is just a complete hypothetical, but imagine if Fresh and Fit got caught up in something like this. They would probably look at them as a group and say, okay, this is an organized crime group who are doing whatever the fuck, right? So days earlier, Tate engaged in a Twitter standoff with the climate activist Greta Thunberg, attempting to troll her by telling her about his large collection of emission-heavy cars. Thunberg responded by implying Tate has small dick energy, but size doesn't matter, guys. I'm not going on a small. I'm not going on a size matters rant. I'm not going to do it. I'm playing. The Tate brothers are expected to appear in Bucharest court next week to have their appeals heard against a judge's decision to extend their arrest warrants from 24 hours to 30 days, Dickett said. The Tate brothers will also appeal against the seizure of some of their belongings. Tate appeared to deny the accusations, suggesting after his arrest he had been captured by Matrix agents, a reference to beliefs based on the science fiction film series. According to Dickett, 6 injured people have been identified in relation to the investigation. Oh, hold on. Let me back up a little bit, though, because that Matrix reference is important, because this is one of the reasons why I wanted to cover this, is because there are 2 sides to this, right? Or several sides, but 2 main sides. Now, one possibility is that he's guilty, he got caught, he's being investigated, and he's going to be punished for his crimes, right? But some people believe that the reason why he's been targeted is because of his message, which is very much anti-system. Anytime someone's talking about red pill, because you go back to the Matrix movie, it's all about fighting against the system that's enslaving us. And so some people are speculating that it's not that he's actually done anything wrong. They believe that he's being targeted because of, one, how influential he is and his ability to have an effect on the minds of impressionable young men. and spread his message, but also his ideas of, again, rebelling against the system, not like setting shit on fire, but just making sure that you organize and live your life in such a way where you're not going along with the status quo, so to speak, right? So, and that's very much in line with like typical red pill stuff that you see, but he might just be more like on the extreme level. But those are the two sides that I'm seeing, and the truth could be somewhere in the middle, right? The truth could be that he has done something wrong, but the only reason he's being targeted is because of his message. So the truth could be somewhere in the middle as well. But that's what I'm seeing, is some people are saying that they feel that he's being unjustly targeted because the system sees that he's rebelling and trying to get people to, you know, go against the norm and to, right, don't be submissive sheep, sleep slaves, and right, but that whole Matrix thing, right? You're sitting in jelly, in a jelly ball with a cable in the back of your head. Wake up, right? Okay. So, according to Dickett, I know I'm saying his name wrong, Dickett. 6 injured people have been identified in relation to the investigation, one of whom is said to have been violently sexually assaulted in March. Some of the suspects allegedly used the loverboy method of trafficking, which involves a man luring a victim into a relationship in order to sexually exploit them later. So, this part is interesting because some of my fans, they asked me about this case, and this is exactly what I said, and this was before I read any articles, but I told them, like, from what I knew, from what I heard about what he was arrested for, sex trafficking, the first thing I thought of was, because I knew that Andrew Tate was involved in sort of managing girls who are involved in various levels of sex work, primarily I'm assuming things like OnlyFans, the production of amateur pornography and things of that nature, right? I knew that much about him. So when I heard the sex trafficking charge, I knew it had to be connected to that, right? And see, this is the thing now, because let me break this down for guys who don't understand how this shit works. Back in the day, if you wanted to be a pimp, you had to attract women, game women, get them on your team, and put them out on the street to have sex with strange men or set them up with clientele and whatnot, right? Very risky, very dangerous, very stressful. But the pimp game has evolved along with the internet, along with social media and things like that, because on one hand, prostitution is illegal, at least in America and several other places throughout the world. But the production of pornography is not. Again, at least not in America. Laws differ, but generally speaking, right, that's how it works. Like, prostitution, illegal. Producing pornography, legal. And so pimping has evolved in this way. Instead of getting girls to walk the streets, you get girls to produce amateur pornography. You upload it, you promote it, and you can make money from it on sites like OnlyFans. There are quite a few sites. I don't know them all by name, but then you also have places like X videos and Pornhub that have various ways that the amateurs can make money off. Like, you can upload free videos, but also paid videos and things like that. Like, you know, there are a myriad of different ways for you to make money that way. As far as like the production of amateur pornography. And then on top of that, there's the whole simp fanboy culture, right? Where you get a girl popular, she has a fan base, they send her money on Twitch, they send her money on chat, right? It's very lucrative if you get a girl to get a sizable fan base, basically. And so what some guys are doing, they're attracting women and saying, hey, why don't you make an OnlyFans, or why don't you let me manage you? Basically, they're working as a manager for amateur porn stars or amateur porn creators. And again, it's basically pimping. It's a legal way. It's a legal, safer, easier way of pimping. And so, the issue with this is that, and I think what a lot of guys don't realize is that even though you're not taking girls and putting them on the street, it's still a thin line between managing a girl's OnlyFans and then getting caught up in something like this. Because at the end of the day, all it takes is for a girl to say, well, look, yeah, I said this, but now I feel this way, right? Like, yeah, I was making OnlyFans for him, and or he was managing me and taking care of this and that, but then this day I felt like I was raped, or I was inappropriately touched, or I was held against my right. That's the problem with trying to do something like this, is that you're still putting yourself at risk because you have to deal with women who can be very fickle. And that's not to say all women are lying or trying to get something out of it, but that's a real risk that you expose yourself to when you play this game. And it's so simple because it's as easy. You could do this with your girlfriend. You could meet a girl in a normal setting, date her. You guys are boyfriend, girlfriend. Then you say, okay, look, why don't you just make an OnlyFans, right? She ain't got to fuck other guys, right? It could just be you fucking her. But basically, in a way, you're pseudo pimping because you're selling her sex to the masses. It's just that she's not having sex with other men. She's not having sex with strange men. Now, some people take it to the next level, and I'm assuming this is what Andrew did, because I know he's a multimillionaire. He's in a position to do it big. So I'm sure the way Andrew did it wasn't just one girl. He probably had 10, 15, 20 different women that he was working with or working under him, and he was probably managing them as far as different levels of sex work or different types of sex work, right? But again, that's very dangerous when you play that game, because whenever you're involved with a woman and sex is involved, I don't care whether it's your girlfriend, a hookup, friends with benefits, a date, whenever sex is involved, they can use that against you, right? Oh, hold up. This thing got stuck here. 1 second, people. I apologize. This thing got stuck. 1 second. Okay, here we go. So the victims were transported and housed in buildings in Ilfov County, which surrounds Bucharest, where they were coerced into making pornographic content, it is alleged. Dickett released a video of the raid showing guns, knives, and money on display in one room. And see, this is what I'm talking about. They were coerced into making pornographic content, it is alleged. And see, that's the thin line I'm talking about, right? Now, you thought it was cool. You got consent. She was like, yeah, I'm down. But if at any point she feels like you forced her or you threatened her, she was scared, she didn't know this, right? She agreed to this, but not that, and she was too scared to say. It's that easy, bro. It's that easy. That's why this is a dangerous game to play, especially with multiple different women. This is a very dangerous hand to play. It can be lucrative, right? And it's for someone like Andrew, who's famous, has money and just unlimited resources. Basically, this could be a good side project for him. This could be a good moneymaker. But whenever you're dealing with women and sex simultaneously, it's dangerous. Period. So this is from another article. It goes a little bit more in depth. So let's get right into it. This is from the Daily Mail. Disgraced influencer Andrew Tate admitted women who stay in his house are not allowed to leave and boasted you don't go anywhere in resurfaced video. Andrew Tate said in video, women can't leave his home, saying, "You go nowhere." Social media influencer arrested on December 29th in Romanian trafficking investigation. They don't go out. They're not allowed out, Tate said in clips showing private jets. So Andrew Tate admitted that women who stayed at his luxury villa were not allowed to leave and told them, "You don't go nowhere," in a now resurfaced video. Disgraced social media influencer Tate, 36, boasted in the YouTube video about his apparent playboy lifestyle, showing him flanked by young women in bikinis, getting onto private jets and smoking cigars. And women working for him in Romania were allegedly branded with tattoos with the words "owned by Tate." Former kickboxer Tate, who has risen to notoriety in recent years for his attitude towards women, was arrested in Romania on December 29th in an investigation into alleged rape, human trafficking, and organized crime. Now, that whole tattoo thing might sound extreme, but, Christian Rock, Blueface's girlfriend, she has his face tatted on her neck. So, and I have a friend who has, him and his girl have tattoos of each other's name. Now, I don't agree with this, but I'm just saying that it's not exactly out of the norm. But if it's owned by, that's right, that particular message right there, that's not gonna help you in court, right? That's kind of like when I was playing that Tamani Nasagi game recently, and they branded her with the heart over the uterus, like some whole dark shit there. That's a whole nother thing. But let's continue. So police confirmed his location after he posted a bizarre video on Twitter, hitting back at Greta Thunberg for her small dick energy job, which showed a pizza box from a local restaurant. In the resurfaced clip, Tate claims that women are stuck at his house when they live there while he jets off internationally. Tate said, "When you're a real G, you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. You go to Warsaw, fucking Dubai, Miami, I'm all over the place, man." With all these chicks just stuck in the house, sitting there bored, completely in love with me. And of course, they don't go out. They're not allowed out. He said that women, that's my Andrew Tate impression, by the way, guys. Yeah, I know. He said that women at his home were forbidden to go out to the club with their friends and chastised bitch ass dudes who would let his chicks go to the club without me. "No, you stay in the house. You don't go nowhere. No restaurants, no clubs, nothing," Tate added. Police in Romania have been investigating former kickboxing champion Tate and brother Tristan since April last year. Now, see, this is the problem, and this is the main reason why I want to talk about this. This is the problem when guys try to control women, dude. And look, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to me, but this is my advice. Because I've had guys on my Discord debate me about this, and it's fine, right? You do you. But this is my opinion. Guys, stop trying to control women. Stop this whole control and dominate and force women to do. It's a dangerous game to play. It'll work 999 times. The 1,000th time, you're in fucking prison. I'm telling you, it is not worth it. Stop trying to play this out. I'm so alpha. I control women. They do it. That's not the way. And see, this is why I say personally, again, just based off what little I know of him, I can't put him in the center of the red pill circle, so to speak, right? He's definitely red pill adjacent. But when I think to the guys that I look to for advice, the guys that I listen to, everyone from Coach Greg Adams, Ron Willis, Rollo, or Rolo, Thinking Ape, Sandman, Lucario, any number of these guys, right? Even going to like back to the 70s with the Manipulated Man book from Esther V. Lard, right? Patrice O'Neal, the great Patrice O'Neal. None of these guys preach or teach men to do shit like this. None of these guys, no, like keeping girls under lock and chain and brand. You don't know, you can't, that's not the energy that the guys that I listen to, I've never heard them preach and talk about shit like that. At least not to that extreme. It's like my favorite quote from Patrice O'Neal. It resonates with me so deeply. And he said, I never forget it. He said, I give my free love and I can take my free love away. That's red pill. And what he was saying was, if I'm dealing with a girl and I'm giving her love, don't take it for granted. Because if you disrespect me, if you get out of line, I'm walking away. I'm removing you. I'm eliminating you from my life, right? I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to force you to do anything. I'm not going to fight you. I'm going to go my own way and we're going to go our separate ways. To me, that's red pill, right? And I'm not trying to kick Tate out or anything. I'm just saying, I've never seen any of the red pill OG, even going back to Patrice. I've never heard. And Patrice O'Neal was an asshole. He was a big fat asshole. And I never heard him say, like, talk the way that Andrew does, right? This whole idea of like, nah, you're not good, right? And from like my understanding of the red pill way, so to speak, you don't do shit like that, right? Now, of course, you control your space. That's not to say you just let a bitch come in and just do whatever, right? But it's not, you don't control her with the energy of force. You don't force her to do anything. You say, look, if you're going to be in a relationship with me and in my space, you know, I have deal breakers, right? You say, well, look, I don't want you going to the club without me, right? Now you don't yell and fight. I don't want you to. But if you want to do that, fine. But you're not gonna be in a relationship with me, right? That's how a red pill guy, the red pill guys that I listen to, that's how they would do it, right? Right. This is my space. This is my program. You go along with it, or we just can't get along. And it's no different than a girl saying, look, if you want to be my boyfriend, you can't masturbate to pornography, right? Now, if you want to do that, fine, but we can't be together. You go your way, I go my way. But this whole, like, the energy that I get from Andrew Tate is that he's trying to force these things, right? He's like, these are hard rules. And once you get in, I just see him trying to do that masculine frame shit. Now, I don't know him personally, but that's the vibe that I get. And this is why I say, bro, this is the issue with this shit. Because when you do stuff like this, when you try to force and fight and argue and when you try to control women by force, it's fine when they submit and they're okay with it. But the second they don't like what you're trying to get them to do, they have a case against you. Now you're an abuser. Now you're a rapist. Now you sexual assault. Now you sex traffic them. That's how this shit works. And I think that what guys have to understand is that, and I know different places in the world handle women differently, but look, unless you're in Saudi Arabia or the Middle East somewhere, look, I'm assuming most of you guys live in first world Western countries. We don't have the authority to treat women like that. You can do it. You can get away with it. Don't get me wrong. But if you get caught, you're fucked, because you have to understand we live in a culture where women have a lot of power. Women have the advantage over us in a lot of different ways. See, you think you're alpha, you think you're tough, you think you're in control until you're motherfucking not. And that's why I keep telling guys, don't try to deal with women with this type of energy. Don't try to force them to do anything. Know who you are, control your space. If you're compatible, if she's cool, then she can be in your space. When she's not compatible and cool, then you get her out, you kick, you move her out and you move away, right? You give your free love, you take your free love away. But I'm telling you, guys have to understand this shit. Guys have to like this whole I'ma use my pimp hand, I'ma smack a bitch, that shit don't fly no more. And that's not me trying to be a white knight, blue pills. That's not, no, I'm giving you the real. We don't live in a society and a culture where you can do that type of shit and get away with it. At least not when women want you. Women can weaponize that against you. If you hit a woman, you're giving her a fucking loaded gun. You think you're bad because you smacked her. You just gave her a loaded gun. If she wants to use that against you, she if you yell and you force and you're giving her ammunition, bro. That's all you're doing. And that's the main reason why I wanted to talk about this shit, right? I'm sure Andrew Tate probably has I probably agree with most of the things that he would say. But when I see this ain't red pill. To me, this ain't red pill. The red pill that I know teaches guys how to protect themselves from situations like this. And then on top of that, right? And this is the other thing too. When you're dealing with multiple different women, 5, 10, 15 different women, Instagram thoughts, models, hoes, right? Because you got to think, man, Andrew is living a fast life. He's not meeting these girls and taking the proper time to vet them and get to know them and understanding their character. You know that she's attractive and she looks like she's going to go along with my program. Let's go, right? But you got to know, man, there's a lot of mentally ill, vindictive, and again, I don't know if they're lying. I don't know if he's like, this is all alleged, right? We can only speculate. So I'm just speculating here, right? But the fact is, there are a lot of, you just saw what happened with Gervonta Davis, the boxer. His girl called the police on him, said she was in fear for her life, said he hit her. He got locked up. And everybody thought he did. I thought he did it. I was like, damn, bro. But even then, right? The part of the reason why he got so much heat was because he got caught on camera forcing a girl out of her chair and forcing her out of the room aggressively. So even he's not completely innocent as far as how people reacted. Most people thought back to that and said, yeah, I think he did it. Right? But his girl, his baby mama, came out and said, no, I lied about everything. Do you know how evil that is what she did? And the crazy thing about it is that Gervonta got most of the heat. And then she came out and said, I lied about it all. And there's no punishment for her. She doesn't get arrested. She doesn't have to face the public backlash of that. And she just fades back into the background of being his baby mama. Right? But my point on this is that that's the mother of his child. And she bold-faced lied on this man. Got him locked up. He could have died. The police could have came and something could have went left and he could have got shot in the back. Who knows? And I hear about shit like this all the time. I met one of my own friends. His girl called the cops on him. They got kicked. Bruh, I'm telling you. And my point is, these are the mother of these men's children and they do shit like this. Now look at Andrew Tate and some of these other guys. You're dealing with random women off Instagram, off the internet. You're dealing with promiscuous women who are willing to sell and profit off of their sex appeal. And I hate to say it, but we all know a lot of times women who do, not all, but a lot of women who do that, they have issues. Let's be honest. And so you're dealing with these kind of women, not one, not two, not three, right? LeBron James with the Heat, not three, not four, 10, 15. And you think you're not going to get in trouble? Guys, this is a lesson. This is a lesson. This is a red pill. You know, the great irony of the top G, the great irony is that if anyone smart watching your situation, this should be a lesson. You just gave people a red pill lesson of what not to do. You can't afford to do shit like this I'm sorry, you can't. You can't be juggling 10, 15 different women and having them on OnlyFans and Instagram making. You can't do shit like that. Because all it takes is one. All it takes is one to say, you know what? I kind of feel like I was raped yesterday. Right? Yeah, I know I was calling them daddy and I was screaming, but I can't, now I feel like it was rape. Or you made me mad. That's what it gets you. You made me mad today. How can I get back at you? I'm telling you. Andrew Tate was playing a dangerous game the whole time he was doing this shit. The whole time he was doing, like, I'm just trying to give you guys the game. If I was in his position and I had options, I'm telling you, I'd still be a one girlfriend man. Look, I ain't saying I'm getting married. No, I ain't that stupid. But this whole 3, 4, 5 different chicks, nah, bro. I'm telling you. Cause it's hard enough dealing with one. Like I said, bro, your baby mama, the mother of your child, will stab you in the back. She will slit your throat. She will set you on fire in your sleep. She will cut your dick off. I'm telling you, she will call the police on you and hope they shoot your ass. That's the mother of your children. You talking about you want to have a stable of bitches? Couldn't be me, man. Could not be me. So the article continues. The probe began after a 22-year-old woman told police she was held against her will last year and culminated in officers raiding his villa last month and taking him and younger brother Tristan into custody. Police sources told the Times that the women and other alleged victims were tattooed with the words "owned by Tate." Authorities in Romania allege the 36-year-old kept 6 women under house arrest 24/7 like prisoners at his compound. One judicial source previously told the Mail the abuse was physical and emotional. They were not allowed to leave the house without security and they were watched day and night. They added that the women were deprived of their freedom and followed everywhere. It is claimed that Tate forced the women to create pornographic content against their will. And that's just like I said, bro. One moment is cool. Look, everything is cool till it's not. Right? And again, we don't know. This is all alleged allegations, this and that. It's two sides to every story. But we can speculate. Maybe he's guilty. But if he's not, you can see how what he was doing could still be easily used against him if one of these girls just got upset with him. But the way it sounds, and I saw a video. Now I don't know the context of the video. It was a short clip, but I saw a video where he was straight up hitting a girl, right? Just straight hitting her. Now again, context is important because I saw this another video on R9K where the guy was punching his girlfriend, but then there was another clip of her explaining that that's her fetish. Right? So you can't always look at little clips and sound bites and come to a conclusion. But that's not going to help his case because we live in a fast-paced society where people don't think about context. They don't want, like, out of a 1-hour video, they just want the hottest 2 minutes, right? Who knows why he was hitting that girl? Maybe he was completely in the wrong. Maybe she was just a super masochistic sub that's into that shit. Some girls like really rough shit, right? So context is important, but what I'm saying is you can look at that and say, look, if that was done based on what I was saying earlier, again, you think you're big, you think you're Mr. Tough Alpha masculine man, I run these hoes. that sort of behavior can easily be turned against you. So that's the big lesson here that I see as far as like, moving into the future and whatnot. Guys, you got to be very careful. You don't have to go to the extreme that I have as far as, embracing being a goddamn Harry Potter sorcerer man wizard, right? You ain't gotta be a 30-year-old virgin, bro. You ain't gotta go to my street, but you gotta be careful when you deal with women, especially when you're in a very powerful position or you're a man of status. You see what's happening with Kai Cenat right now, where he's in trouble because a girl that he invited to his party allegedly got raped by one of his friends. And the allegation isn't even against him, but because he's the friend of the guy and she felt like he didn't do his due diligence to protect her and help her, people are mad at him. And now he's going through a lot of shit. It's so crazy. Like you can't even, it's like you can't afford, you just can't afford to just be out here like this. As far as like the whole Kai Cenat situation, I was watching Coach Greg Adams' video where he was talking about this, and I love what he said. And he said, now I'm paraphrasing a lot here, but he was basically saying like, people want him to be out here, just dealing with all these, dealing with different types of women. I'm with this girl and that girl, right? And he's like, no, like I'm low key. I be in the background, like just that's how you gotta be when you out here too much, doing too much. This is the type of stuff that happens to you. You gotta move slow. You gotta move carefully. You gotta be low key, especially when you're a man of status. Especially when you cause red pill or manosphere, like cause. The Matrix at that point, they have a reason to target you. They have a reason. And I'm telling you, like, just look at the Michael Jackson situation. Some people feel like he got targeted because he got out of line. It's speculation. We don't know. But recently, I saw a thread on the poll board where somebody asked, did he do it? Was he a pedophile? This and the third. But what that tells me is that to this day, people still don't know. To this day, his reputation, his name is still stained by those accusations. We don't know if he did it or not. But what it shows is the power of these types of accusations. A man as great as Michael Jackson, he could never shake that. To this day, people still wonder, was he fucking kids? Like, it's real shit. People still wonder. And you got to think, if he didn't do it, goddamn, the shit he had to deal with as far as like the weight of those accusations, the stigma is terrible. But that's part of the reason why I just think, man, you got to be so careful with how you deal. Like, you got to understand, as a man, sex can easily be your downfall. Sex has been the downfall of countless men. Sex might be the downfall of Andrew Tate. Sex and women, you have to really be careful. So that's the news for today. That's the lesson of the day. So I got some interesting OC. This is a song from one of the friends of the channel, Dubs. He was the guy that inspired several key rants. The 2K14 rant on the gaming channel. He was the reason for the small penis rant I went on that I uploaded. A good friend of the channel. And he sent me this song that apparently he and some other guy worked on. So I'm going to let you guys listen to that and a little bit more OC. And then I'm going to transition to the main topic. So stay tuned, guys.
Right in the back in the Maybach tricks, and my purple don't lean it forward in my cup. Got your bitch in the back and she showing me love, smoking blunts and runs, yeah, that's my drug.
Hitting that rush, popping that shit, rolling down the street on 30-inch rims. I know you loving my style, gone to Miami, gone for a while.
Slurricane in the hurricane, talk shit, get on over, man. I'm really proud on Instagram, the brick on your head is too many grams. I know these bitches having withdrawals, sipping on fake lean, you're sipping fentanyl. I know these bitches ain't bout that real life. Green cards for bitches, seeking new rides,
seeking new flies, seeking new lies, seeking a baller who's rich off his rhymes. But ballers send them back after one night. She suck it like Kirby, we both really high.
Both really high off this raw, so we fly. Best believe you can die if you get past our side. That's not our fault, that's just how we ride. So don't be shook when our squad outside.
Cause he never catch us in the friend zone, only in the end zone. Fucking all your friends home.
Slurricane in the hurricane, talk shit, get on over, man. I'm really proud on Instagram, the brick on your head is too many grams. I know these bitches having withdrawals, sipping on fake lean, you're sipping fentanyl. I know these bitches ain't bout that real life. Green cards for bitches, seeking new rides.
Up in the sky, got your bitch for one night. Tell the police and it's out with the lights. Watching Toonami when hell of a story with some white girl, I think her name is Dory. Not talking Nemo, bitch I am free though. Red in my hair and it look like hot Cheetos. Someone tell me what I was dreaming. Always look for some kind of meaning. Am I lost or am I mistaken? Lay my head and never awaken. There's no point in wasting the day watching all my friends run away. Do they know the real me, or am I not who I appear to be? Been through this once before, it's not good for my health. How can I trust you if I can't trust myself? I've cried more times than I care to admit. I've tried my whole life learning how to forget. To forget, to forget, I don't wanna be here, no. I don't wanna be here alone. I don't wanna be here, no. I don't wanna be here alone. 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 Yeah, and I'm begging now. Begging now. I'm begging now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We wanna get.
Okay, so we are at the destination of the main topic. So, as I said before, the main or the episode of today is called "We Cannot Compete," and so I found this thread on R9K, which was basically a collection of different posts from girls on Crystal Cafe describing how awesome and badass their boyfriends are. And the general tone of the thread was guys, you know, our fellow bro bros realizing that, you know, most of these guys are just completely out of our league, and kind of highlights why a lot of us don't have girlfriends if this is what it takes, right? If this is the type of guys that girls are going after, then it's pretty self-explanatory why most of us have issues with attracting women. But we're going to start off with the post itself, or the image that was posted in the OP. That this comes directly from Crystal Cafe. And so these girls are describing their boyfriend. So let's, let me see. Hold up 1 second here. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. So let's see if I can zoom in here. Okay. Okay, there we go. So the OP from Crystal Cafe says, QT partner thread, green text traits and how lovely your partner is. Okay, so let's start. So this girl says, strong, handsome Nordic features. I'm already out the game. Pure Prussian ancestry, tall, a pretty big guy relative to most people, works as a head chef, makes $300K a year, shredded gym body, and highly intelligent, understood the ending of Evangelion, reads Kant in one hand and Nietzsche in the other, both understands Chinese and European philosophy, is fluid as the towel yet as driven as the Ubermensch, big dick is like a Evian bottle. Now, I always felt like this one was probably somebody being trolling or trying to be cheeky. I'm not even sure though, based on some of the other posts. But let's assume this one was a girl trying to be cheeky, because you know the whole understood the ending of Evangelion thing, that probably kind of gave away. But let's move on to more serious ones. So this girl says, tall, blue eyes, veiny arms, very intelligent, gives kisses on the forehead, doesn't mind when I don't shave legs because I'm lazy. He's a sweetheart. He makes breakfast every day and afterwards thanks me for the breakfast because they always taste so good when he can eat them with me. I consider myself very lucky. But now, see, that sounds nice, right? It sounds so simple. But look at the first thing she posted. Tall. Tall, right? 6 foot plus. So let's keep going. The next girl says, tall, blonde, green eyes, skinny. You're his first girlfriend. Literally genius IQ. Likes poetry and bird watching. Gets into online arguments that your body type is the best one. Big dick. I keep telling you guys. Plans to marry you and have hella kids. There's obviously more, but we mostly just fuck around and watch anime, and I take us out to do wacky, spontaneous shit. We RABU each other. I don't know what that means, but you know, it sounds like they have a nice, fun relationship. But look, I get it, right? We always talk about tall, like height and big dick being things that we can't achieve, like the genetic shortcomings that we have no hope to change, right? But I'm more jealous of the genius IQ thing, right? We don't talk about that. We don't talk about how we get IQ mogged by other men. It's always the height, race, penis size, whatever, frame. Excuse me. But we don't talk about IQ. That one hit me. Like, damn. He's smarter too. So this one says, I just moved in with my boyfriend of nearly 2 years, so let me gush a little. Has his shit together, lots of work and life experience, is a chef, cooks tasty meals for me whenever I want, frequently takes me out to dinner, lunch, breakfast just because, can be just as goofy as me, entertains plenty of nonsensical inside jokes that shouldn't even be funny, handsome, tall, deep voice with a gym body, is emotionally intelligent and a very good listener from years of therapy, great sex, aka big dick, wants to actually resolve conflict if it arises and doesn't start arguments for no reason. I'm a huge worrier, so I was terrified that moving in together would kill the vibe, but so far, so good. So this guy, again, just all around seems like an awesome person. Again, we can't beat like you're handsome or not, tall, deep voice, and you know, deep voice was something that I didn't even realize until a while ago that was something that girls look for. I remember the story where this guy was like, he met this girl online, and when they first voice chatted, he asked her, "Why were you so quiet at first?" And she said, if your voice wasn't deep enough, I was going to ghost you. And that kind of showed me that girls actually pay attention to stuff like that. Not only do you have to be masculine physically, they even want a guy with a masculine voice. And I'm not saying like it's a bad thing, but it just shows you how easily it is for men to get disqualified, because we don't even talk or think about things like that, such as the tone of a girl's voice. But the thing that stands out here, and this is something that most of us could achieve. Like, this isn't like a genetic limiter, but has his shit together, lots of work and life experience. And I think that's something that's attractive for any man. And that's something that most men can achieve. You know, women, they like a guy who is, one, able to make a lot of money or plenty of money. But also is going to be like, if the tire goes flat, he'll be able to change it. If something breaks in the house, or if there's an appliance in the house that breaks down, he'll be able to fix it. If you guys got to travel somewhere, right? He already has his passport. He knows how to take a bus, a train. He knows how, right? Girls like stuff like that because it's good for men in general to have enough life experience to be able to navigate the chaos of the world around us. And that's not something that we are incapable of achieving ourselves. I know that's something that I want for myself as well. So this girl says, I'll take any opportunity to gush about him. 6 feet tall, blonde, very successful for his age, smartest person I've ever met. The IQ thing again. Based opinions, conventionally average, but is the sexiest guy in the world to me. Cute, soft, and a little chubby. Smile makes me melt. Precious laugh. We share the same sense of humor and way of thinking. Is literally the only person who has ever understood me. He appreciates me not being a normie. Talks to me on Discord every day. We never run out of things to talk about. In a week, I'm seeing him in real life for the first time in over a year. Might combust from excitement. Now, there's some cute things here, right? Like, I don't mean to focus so much on like the superficial, but you gotta appreciate the cute things too. You know, he's the only one that understood me. You know, we got the same sense of humor. I love his laugh. I love his smile. Like, these are cute things right here. Excuse me. Okay, I'm trying to get to the next one here. Hold up. So this girl says, 6'1", of course, bodybuilder, but not in a gross way. Lovely soft brown eyes, very well read, not a bum, career oriented, and very likely to become very successful. Great relationship with my parents, buys me small but expensive gifts occasionally, says he'll be with me forever, constantly, great sex, aka big dick. Now look, I can't be sure every time they say great sex that means he's hung, but that's my assumption. Like I guarantee you, if they put great sex, he doesn't have a small dick. I'll tell you that much. So the next girl says tall. Oh, goddamn. My head reaches his shoulders and I have to get on my tippy toes to kiss him. Dominant in bed, 98th percentile size cock. We actually measured together and we were both surprised, but he is very humble about it, however. So again, bit dicketed. Naturally muscular with broad shoulders. Doesn't need to work out to maintain an outer mold body. Strong jawline, symmetrical face, but delicate feminine features. What, is this goddamn Griffin from Berserk? Very deep voice. However, he's a gifted singer and has a 3-octave range, so the voice thing pops up again. Naturally talented, multi-instrumentalist, very educated in jazz theories. So the what girls like skills thing, right? From Napoleon Dynamite. Parents are wealthy, so we can spend most of our time engaging in our hobbies. Light green eyes that look like the galaxies. Loyal, friendly, and kind. QT artist, says I'm better than all her exes and that he constantly thinks about me. Amazing chef. So I think we might need to get our cook game up. But I mean, just listen to this tall, big dick, muscular and good body without even having to work out. Jawline, symmetrical face, deep boy. God, you know, give credit though for the things the talents he cultivated on his own though, like, you know, being into music and shit like that, and his overall personality. But it's when you read stuff like this, it just shows the power level gap between a lot of guys and our competition. Right. I mean, you ever wonder, why are so many guys virgins? I mean, this is why, because this is what girls are looking for. And I mean, no disrespect to the girls here, but I'm willing to bet that a lot of them are probably very unremarkable physically. Like, I doubt these are Instagram model, right? I doubt these are girls that would be considered like Stacy's and shit like that. I guarantee you most of these are probably like slightly chubby, average, short. Like, that's the same type of girls that guys are R9K obsessed over, like average women. But you see nothing but, for the most part, above average men. Men with above average height, above average faces, above average penis size, above average career aspects, above average. Like, damn. This is why a lot of guys can't get anything, though. So this girl says, loyal, gentle, passionate, emotionally mature, yet vulnerable, attentive, reasonable, socially intelligent, introverted, slightly practical, well-educated, manly physique, gray eyes, good facial hair. I feel so lucky. Loyal, gentle, passionate. Yeah, these are all great traits. So this girl says, big cute eyes, sweet as all hell, and listens to me, works through any problems we have with me, handsome and super duper cute, looks like an angel, smarty, and always figures out gifts I'm gonna give him if I give him a hint. Lets me call him good boy, into the same stuff sexually as me, hot, loyal boy, affectionate and makes me feel better about myself, talks to me every day and makes me super happy, funny and somehow thinks I'm funny even though my sense of humor is awful, plays games with me even though I suck at them, cute, tell me. I can just imagine him playing like Street Fighter with her and beating her ass. Oh man, but smarty and always figures out gifts. That IQ thing pops up again, and I kind of like. I think it's something that we don't think about a lot, but I kind of get it because, you know, girls always like to feel inferior. Maybe inferior is not the word, but they like to always feel like they're with a man who is better than they are, stronger than they are, more capable than they are. They want to feel like the Robin to a Batman. And if you're with a man who is smarter than you, anytime you're talking or having conversations, you know, he's going to be able to explain things to you in a way that you could possibly understand. Or if you're being irrational, he can shut you down easily, right? And if he has a good personality to go along with that, he can do it without being arrogant. And so you can just feel like, oh God, he's just so amazing, right? So I kind of get why you keep seeing the whole, like, their intelligence popping up. But again, I think that's an underrated thing for guys. That's an underrated attractive trait for men, intelligence. Because I think a lot of times when we think of intelligence, we think of the nerd. We think of the geek who doesn't have all the other things. We think of the geek who doesn't have the social competency and the physique to go along with that. But I think intelligence by itself is not enough. You still have to be taller than her. You still have to have money. You still have to have a bright future ahead of you. Things like that, and be socially competent. But I think intelligence, when combined with those traits, is just another thing that's going to set you apart from the rest of the pack. So this girl says tall, handsome, smart. Did I mention tall? I think she was probably being cheeky, right? Because she noticed that most of the girls listed tall as one of like the first major traits. Okay. So this girl says, very handsome and cute, could pull lots of girls if he wanted to. Green eyes and light brown hair, taller than me. Again, geeks out about history, and I love it. Again, that intelligence thing. He can just pull out so many facts about Alexander the Great. Did you know Alexander the Great got his cheeks busted? No. It's a part of the itty bitty titty committee. Appreciates my small boobs a lot. Not the most witty or social, but I love his awkwardness. Unexpected romantic, and I love it. Unexpected weeb, and secretly reads a lot of romance manga, and I read everything he recommends to me. His friends tell me he wasn't the most caring or kind before he met me, but he changed into a more open, sweet, and sensitive person after we began dating. Buys me lots of gifts when I don't ask. Cute and dumb humor that's hard to explain, but I adore it. We're getting married soon, and the military is providing us a house. I love him so much. I could go on and on, but here's a small snippet of what I love about him. I very much appreciate this thread because reading wholesome and lovey-dovey posts about everyone's significant others brightens up my day. Oh my God. You know, another thing too, though, the eyes. You see the eyes pop up a lot, but what you don't see, you don't see, oh, beautiful brown eyes. Right? It's got to be green, blue, or something, right? Like, oh God. But that's another one of those like genetic limiters, right? Taller than me, you know, typical stuff. But I think, again, the whole geek side about history, that's another indicator of intelligence. And remember what I said earlier too, though. I guarantee you most of these girls aren't very remarkable. And again, I say that with all due respect, but she said itty bitty titty committee, which means she got, you know, small tits. And one, though, again, guys tend not to be as picky about stuff like that. Small boobs, big, like I don't even think about that, right? and nerdy interests and shit like that. They get along, and apparently he's in the military, so that's a very attractive thing too, because when you're a military guy, I mean, as far as healthcare and dental, and I mean, you're pretty much lined up for a very comfortable life, if you can get out of service without getting your legs blown off. So I can imagine why she's so pleased with the man that she got. So this girl says 6 feet tall, brown hair and blue eyes, muscular, makes me laugh, extremely intelligent. Intelligence comes up again. Makes me feel loved and is always there for me. Makes me feel like there is no other girl like me. Yeah, life is good. Brown hair, blue eyes. I told you, man. I think the eyes is one of those underrated, attractive traits, though. One of the what I call genetic limiters. People gush over green, blue eyes and stuff like that. Brown eyes, like brown eyes haven't been cool since Mint Condition released the song "Pretty Brown Eyes." Pretty brown eyes, you know that I see you. That's a good ass song too. Okay, let's move on. This girl says, cute and friendly face, beautiful brown eyes. We got one. Okay, finally. Pretty brown eyes. I gotta listen to that song very soon. Brutally honest and intelligent. Intelligence comes up again. Sex is great, aka big dick, and or not small dick. A thinker, intelligence, in good shape, one of those blessed beings who eats, and won't get fat, takes me seriously, loves video as I do, cuddles a lot. There's of course some features I don't like, but let's ignore them for now. She's covering up the arguments and shit. That's fine though. This is a positive thread, at least for them. It's a tragedy for us. So this girl says, ex-military, high-paying job, intelligent, and helps me with homework, motivates me to be better, encourages me to make better choices, there for me when I need, disciplined, masculine, fit, not clingy. Yeah, that's a good pick right there. And the military thing comes up again. So ex-military, that means that, he probably is lined up to get health care, dental, right? If you can make it out of military service, there's a lot of perks to go along with that. That's why you see, a lot of girls, they find out you in the military, or they don't say a girl loves a man in uniform for no reason, right? Because there's a lot of benefits that goes along with that. And we all, I know the tone of this thread is generally positive, but we're red pill men here, so we know how this shit goes, right? The fact is, a guy like that, that's ideal beta bugs situation. I'm not saying that's what they're thinking. I'm just, we already know how shit work. But high paying job, so he got money. The intelligence thing comes up again, and of course the physique, masculine fit, the discipline, etc. And discipline, I think that kind of goes back into what I was saying earlier about, men being experienced and able to navigate through the world. That requires quite a lot of, discipline, right? So that's attractive because when you're a disciplined man, you're a man who can get shit done, right? And that's attractive to women. Okay, let's see. I think I got most of the ones I wanted to cover. Okay, so this girl says, tall, bearded, green eyes, big and muscular, looks like a movie star, embodiment of my type. I'm tall myself, so height is definitely a factor for me. Best only friend through high school. He lived in the house behind, so we always sneak out and get drunk and cuddle. Lost my virginity to him. Big dick sex god. I keep telling y'all, big dick equals sex god. I keep y'all, okay, don't listen to me, I'm crazy. And see, I'm not gonna go on the small penis rant. I'm just real quick, because people don't get how women operate sometimes. When women are amongst themselves, they can be themselves, right? Women are the most honest when they are amongst themselves, talking about how they feel and what they think. when we as men confront them, ask them about penis size and shit like that, it's not always reliable, because you have guys that say shit like, if a woman cares about penis size, she's a whore, she's a bad person, this, that, and the third. And women don't want to be looked at like that. That's why a lot of times they'll cope and make excuses and cover up how they really feel. That's why you can't trust those conversations. Listen to them when they're amongst themselves. That's when you'll get the most truth out of them. That's what my perspective is based off of. When I see women talk about this shit amongst themselves, that's when they're the most honest. Because otherwise, people are going to say, oh, she's a bad person because she likes good sex. Loyal, adores me, makes me the center of his world, similar interests, fellow gamer, weeb, helped me realize my family was abusive and got me away from them, protected me through a lot of traumatic situations, prioritizes me always, hardworking, loves doing outside work, cooks, makes sure I eat, emotionally stable, knows how to calm me down, buys me weed, calls me beautiful, and pulls me into a hug multiple times a day, coziest soft body on earth, kisses me every chance he gets, can shoot a gun with insane accuracy, big calloused hands. Oh God, does everything he can to make me happy, overcame a drug addiction for me, plans on marrying me, growing old with me, promises to always take care of me, always says he loves me in his sleep, 1,000% my soulmate. I never ever thought I would experience love like this. I'm not worried. Now some guys might not get the whole big callous hands thing, but the hands are important, because when your hands are callous, it shows that you've lived a life of doing a lot of hard work. And of course, a hard-working man is attractive to women because hard work tends to equal more money, right? And again, I'm not trying to paint her out to be a gold digger or anything. It's just the simple fact is, and it's completely reasonable, but the simple fact is, a woman at some point, her plan is to have a family and to settle down and be in a stable situation. And that's why you see them listing things like this, and hard working, has his shit together, high paying job, because that means that they're going to be secure and set up in the future should they ever have children. That's why these traits are attractive to women as well, right? It's self-explanatory, but the problem with it, and when we discuss this within the red pill space, is that becomes a way for women to take advantage of you as well. Right? Because now if you got a good woman who's not going to do that, fine. But a lot of times women are attracted to these things, and the guy sets himself up to be in a situation where the girl really, or if things don't work out, right, then she can just cash out through a divorce or something like that. Like right now is, okay, oh, he has a high paying job, he has his shit together, right? I love him. But 5-10 years from now, if it's a divorce, then it's like, well, great, now I can just take half his shit and be okay, right? That's the flip side of all that, right? But outside of that, it's completely reasonable. Most women are going to want that because at some point they're going to plan on settling down. So there's some more, but we're not going to go through all of these. Some of these are kind of long and dopey. But as you can see, this is our competition, fellas. This is what we have to compete with. And when I look at this, I see certain traits that are just out of my control, right? Things like the color of my eyes, penis size, height, frame, even though I'm pretty fit myself, I don't have like the perfect V-shaped frame though. A deep voice, whatever, right? Intelligence, even though I'm not a dummy, but I'm not like a genius either. But you see certain things that are out of your control. But then there are also certain things that I can look at and say, you know what, that's something I could do, right? Being hardworking, putting myself in a position where I'm making more money, right? Because obviously I live with my mom. That's not, you don't see any of them listing, oh, live with his mom, right? So, things like making more money and being more independent, right? Being more being more worldly and experienced as far as like doing different things in the world. These are things that are within our control. these are the things that we can do. Our emotional intelligence, our maturity, how we deal with people. These are things that we can cultivate and control and develop within ourselves. So it's not like it's a complete lost cause, but still, I think that, and you're going to see with the thread, what's so discouraging about this is that even for the girls that listed all these lovey-dovey reasonable traits, it was still outlined with the more superficial traits that are out of our control. Again, like the height and all that. And that's why the thread was so goddamn pessimistic. But we're about to get into that next. Okay, so let's dive into the thread, right? So this is the actual thread that where, our fellow robot friends were reacting to this thread. In these posts. So the OP says the supposed fem cells of Crystal Cafe, everyone. And so what the OP was saying was, a lot of times girls claim to be fem cells and incels, and then when it comes right down to it, right, a lot of these girls have relationships. A lot of these girls have had relationships, or they have options and things like that, right? So the OP was trying to discredit the whole idea that there are fem cells and shit like that, because, I'm assuming there are quite a few people, quite a few females on Crystal Cafe who are claiming the whole femcel thing. And, as we'll see later, femcel or incel means completely different things for men and women. And so this guy says, you have to understand they love their boyfriends, but come on, none of those guys is Chad. Now the thing is, these guys are not described as being like the stereotypical dude bro frat boy type Chad. I get that, but they have a lot of the Chad features. Again, handsome face, tall, big dick, intelligent, socially right? So like these guys definitely ain't at worst, they might be introverted and into nerdy shit, but none of these guys described are like half as bad as the average guy that you see posting on R9K or something like that. Foys are pathetic phonies, more at 11. This guy says, I hate men except my boyfriend. Oh, that might be a girl. 99% of women agree with this statement. And then this guy says, bros, how can I be fluid as the towel yet as driven as the Ubermensch, like that feminized 100% real boyfriend? Yeah, that one had to be. I hope. If that was real, we have no hope. And so this guy says, I am short and 5'7", so I can't get laid. And so let's go right into the thread then. All right. Oh yeah, and if there's a post under a post on these pictures, that's a reply to the first post, by the way. So this guy says, pay attention to the first green text point of every single post. Psychologically is what they desire the most out of everything. They don't even realize it, but it's the most important point to them. You can draw many conclusions from their personalities that way. Almost all the feminized will list height first because they want to feel small. They're insecure about their size and femininity. Pretty easy tell. Some of them will put a personality trait like kind as the first trait. This means they themselves are not kind. The power dynamic is almost always in their favor. One has his shit together, which is a tell that she doesn't, or she's very insecure about having her own shit together and needs a litmus. And that's what I noticed as well, right? How many of them listed things like tall and how it was first, right? How they posted his height and things like that first. And I think the prevalence of, when you look at the prevalence of certain listed traits in these posts, I think it's a good indicator of what women want most, right? Now, I know this is a small sample size, but let's not kid ourselves. We've seen plenty of examples similar to this of girls, right? So we already know that a lot of these are just things that girls tend to like. But look at what the traits that were the most prevalent, right? Height, body type, as in, body fat percentage, frame, fitness level, face, sex, which typically meant a big dick, and having his shit together, which means being able to make money, being competent, and socially, how should I say, socially calibrated, right? So some of them might have been introverted, but none of them were described as being socially awkward or being shy, right? So I think these traits being the most prevalent and list as far as being listed in these posts shows that these are some of the most important traits to women, right? How tall you are, being able to provide good sex, being able to provide resources, being socially competent, and being all around able to navigate the world successfully. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, right? It just highlights what's important to them. And then he says some of them will put a personality trait like kind as the first trait. This means they themselves are not kind. The power dynamic is almost always in their favor. Now, I don't have enough information or evidence to say that, but I do worry about power dynamics when I read stuff like this, right? Because, and this isn't me trying to be overly pessimistic, but we see a lot of toxic relationships in our society. We see a lot of guys with stories of like failed relationships and shit like this. And see, the thing is, it always starts off nice. It always starts off like a romantic comedy, 500 days of summer, or like a damn Disney movie or something. But then when shit gets real, you know, now all of a sudden you guys have become each other's biggest enemies. And so when I read stuff like this, I try not to be pessimistic, right? But then I always have to be aware of the power dynamic, right? So when I see a woman saying, oh, we're about to get married, also he's ex-military, right? That's a big win for her. But for the man, he's setting himself up to be in a position where she could take advantage of him because of that. That's why I think the power dynamic aspect is important. But again, I'm not trying to be Mr. Pessimistic, jaded, MGTOW guy here. But these are just the facts because we see it happen all the time. This is just when everything is fine and I love my man, he's so great, right? But what about 5 years from now or 10 years from now, right? That's gonna be the real test. And so this person replies, a decent chunk of FDS posters, that's female dating strategy posters, prioritize things like has his shit together because they spent their 20s fucking dropouts and broke dudes. Saying stuff like that isn't necessarily a sign that the woman is a mess. It can also mean that she fucked homeless dudes and soon to be single fathers. Well, it's pretty much classic alpha fucks beta bucks situation, right? And I'm not saying these guys are beta bucks, right? But it's more so describing the various phases that women tend to go through, right? When they're young, they tend to prioritize things like, okay, I want to have sex with the guy that I have the most raw attraction towards. And that's not always the guy who necessarily has his shit together. And when you're young, that's not really a big priority for women, especially like when you're college age and things like that, because you're probably living at a dorm or you're living off your parents' money. You might still be living with your parents and things like that. So when you're in your late teens and early 20s, a guy having his shit together or having resources is attractive, but it's not a necessity because you don't necessarily need those resources yet. And then on top of that, you know, a lot of women, they have their own jobs, their own career prospects and things of that nature, right? So when they're young, they have a tendency to prioritize just wanting to have great sex with the alpha, right? And when they get older, that's when they tend to want to settle down and see the need for a man who has his life in order becomes greater because life is going to become more challenging as you get older because they get to that point where they want kids. And, you know, it's one thing when you're in your early 20s and you're childless, right? But it's another when you're in your late 20s or early 30s and your sexual market value is never going to be the same moving forward. And kids are probably going to be in the equation very soon, right? Now, wanting a guy with his life together becomes a much bigger priority. So that's just the natural way of things for a lot of girls in today's society. So this guy, he says, "Chin up, king. I'm 170 centimeters too. If you ever meet a woman who cares only about height and not your personality or anything else, she wasn't a good human being in the first place. My advice to you, don't make a Tinder profile, go to bars, meet women in real life, no dating apps, and try to shoot for tall women. Short women are more shallow in my opinion." So this confirms what I said earlier, or goes into what I said earlier. The reason why a lot of women are not honest about their superficial desires for a man, like height, penis size, right, this, that, and the third, is because guys like this saying shit like what he's saying. If she only cares about your height and not your personality, she wasn't a good human being in the first place. And see, this is what women have to deal with. This is why a lot of times women will be ashamed of being honest about what their real preferences are and what they really want, because they don't want to be looked at as someone who's superficial and shallow. But look, newsflash, mate selection, dating is a very superficial game. And see, let me tell you something. The post that we read, we saw a lot of cute, wholesome traits being listed, and I love that, right? And I'm not trying to undermine that, but the fact is, in a lot of those posts, a lot of those situations that those girls are in with their boyfriends, if he was shorter than them, if he wasn't tall, despite all the good traits that they listed, they would have never given him a chance. If he didn't have a big dick or he had a small dick, the relationship probably wouldn't have lasted. If he didn't look a certain way, if his voice wasn't deep enough, or if he didn't have this amount, X amount of money, she would have never given him a chance. Right? And that's not to say that the personality traits don't matter. That's not to say that, but this is how I would put it, right? It's kind of like a house. It doesn't matter how fancy the carpet is. It doesn't matter how expensive the furniture is, the couch, the refrigerator. We got a fancy stove, the chandeliers, $1,000 blankets and mink rugs. Flat screens, this $1,000 flat screen, whatever, right? It don't matter how great all that stuff is. If the foundation of the house is not sound, it's going to crumble. It doesn't matter how good the interior is if the foundation and the exterior doesn't hold up. And I think mate selection works in a very similar way. And see, things like height, facial structure, different masculinity traits. And we're talking about this from the guy's side, right? Different masculine traits. Again, your body fat percentage and your body frame, the tone of your voice, right? Your overall level of masculinity and shit. Your race, eye color, things like that. Hairline, hair genetic, all these things. That's the foundation. That's the exterior of the house. That's the framework. Right? And personality is all the nice stuff on the inside. Personality is the nice couch, the expensive flat screen, the cool refrigerator with the different gadgets attached to it and stuff, right? The expensive blankets and sheets, okay? That's what personality is. And both of these things are important. Both of these things are important. But at the very least, if you have a house with a great foundation and exterior, then you can always fill that up. And see, that's what we call when a woman wants to fix a man, right? When a man has the great foundation but a terrible interior, that's why girls like those types of guys, because they're like projects, right? It's like giving them a empty mansion, and it's like, okay, I can just put this here, I'll do this. Like it's work for them, right? It's fun, it's exciting, but the foundation is there to work upon. But a guy who's short and ugly and balding and small dick, it's like having a little small shack in the hood, right? And even if you have a good personality, right? Okay, you got a flat screen and a PS5 and a nice bed, but you still in the shack in the projects. Right, that shit, if a hurricane come, that's it. Right? But to me, from my perspective, that's kind of how it works, right? And it's not to say that women are bad for their preferences or what they like in a man. It's just that it's very important for them, you know? But I think the sad part about it is that, like I said, for a lot of those girls, if their boyfriend didn't have those traits, like some of those physical traits that are not really in anyone's control, then the relationship either would have never happened or it wouldn't have lasted, despite all the good interior or personality traits that they have. So apparently this is a girl. She says, Feminine here, the current man I'm talking to and is coming to see me is ex-military but a manlet. Ex-boyfriend I only met once for a few hours, is 6'5" and mixed with black. If I had the choice, I would marry both, but I know I get along more with the manlet. Too much drama with the taller man. So she was trying to make us feel better. And this is why I always say, you got to read between the lines. So did you notice what she said? She said her current man is ex-military, but a manlet. Her ex-boyfriend, who she only met once for a few hours, is 6'5", but it's too much drama. But she still said, if I had the choice, I would marry both. And see, what that says is, despite the issues with the taller man, his height and natural masculinity is enough to put him on equal footing with the guy that she's known longer, the guy she's with now, and again, ex-military. He just happens to be a manlet, but that means, again, pension, healthcare, dental, right? He lined up for comfort. The masculine traits of the boyfriend, who, by all intents and purposes, sound like he won't worth shit, other than that, is more than enough to put him on equal footing. And that's why I say that shit goes a long way. Again, foundation and exterior compared to interior. Both are important, but I think at the end of the day, most girls, they'd rather have a great foundation and exterior to build upon than a great interior with a bad foundation and exterior. So this girl says, I'm a femcel, doubt. I'm not the smartest, probably autistic, and my first boyfriend thought abuse was hot. He had sex with me, but it was mostly just rape, and I thought he was the coolest because he would protect me and call me cute names and hold me. I still didn't want to leave when he started cutting off food, hitting me for eating. And the entire time he was telling me how he loved me and no one else would. At this point, most things don't even matter anymore. I liked him because he was tall and seemed like a nice guy who would do cool stuff together and help me not be scared. I ended up now afraid of most things, and men really frighten me lots. I still am only attracted to guys, but so many men seem to have alternative motives or goals or want out of a relationship that just isn't honest at all. If someone wants me for sex, say so. If you want a friend, then that's never going to abandon you or leave you to fall like a battle buddy, but your girlfriend, that's what I want to be my boyfriend. I want to be able to watch dank memes, both of us gaming, then go out and play or do something together, then come home and cuddle after the day's over. I hate phones. I hate social media. I hate escapism. I just want a real person to live a real life with, away from the modern world that's so caustic. I want to take the air and wind and rain and to sit on the hill and look out over fields and take in life and existence and breathe air and feel our feet on the ground beneath us. I just don't think I'm made for this, for the world. I don't want Chad, and I don't want some hyper modern, annoying, and dismissive, pessimistic nerd. I'm creating my life now, even with the scars of abuse. I'm scared of so much. I feel like a bunny who's going to be killed, and I seriously wish I had a nice boyfriend who wasn't going to try to use my dumber brain or my forgetfulness or my lack of understanding against me. Someone to help me feel safe so eventually I can do that for them too. Oh my God, give her a round of applause. But I gotta point this out though, and somebody said this in the reply beneath. He says, and he's quoting her, "I'm a femcel. He had sex with me." Stop reading there. Do women know what the fucking cell means? And this is what I'm saying, bro. Like girls have their own interpretation and idea of what incel means. That's why you can't take them seriously when they call themselves femcels or incels or any variation of the term, right? Whenever I hear it, I think when a girl says it, you just have to assume that it means that she's been single for a few months. I'll put it like that. If you ever hear girls say that she's an incel or femcel, she's been single for a few months. Or she's a 16-year-old virgin or something like that, right? Like she's 16, 17 when she's not even supposed to be on 4chan, right? And she's talking about how she's so lonely and she ain't even gotten started yet, right? Her whole phase is right around the corner and she don't even know it. But I digress. This girl actually sounds kind of sweet, right? Even though she's the typical, I liked him because he was tall and whatever. Right? That's expected. We already know that. Girls like tall guys. We're over that, right? That's just reality, right? But when I read stuff like this, what always worries me is that the way girls tend to end up with guys like this. And people just have a tendency to make themselves out to be the victim, even when they're really not. And see, a trap that a lot of guys fall into is that they'll see a girl like this, they'll read her testimony and what she wants out of a man and how much she regrets being with an abusive ex-boyfriend or something like that. They'll read that and think, you know what? I'm not like that guy. I'm better than him. I'll come in and I'll save this girl. I'll be the man that you want. Not realizing that a lot of times girls have an innate attraction to guys like that. But a lot of times they're not going to openly express that. They're going to paint themselves out to be the victim. Like, oh, I was just so abused and he was so mean. But they're not going to tell you that that was part of what attracted them to him in the first place. And then you come up, you don't have those dark triad traits, as some would say. And you think that, okay, me being a nice guy, treating her right is going to be what she wants. But a lot of times that's not really what they want. And again, I'm not trying to put words in her mouth. I'm just saying that I'm smart enough to know that you can't take stuff like this at face value. Because I see so often girls would talk so much shit about their man or ex. But then you always have to remember, you open your legs for this guy. And I seriously doubt that out of nowhere he just turned into goddamn Ted Bundy on your ass. I seriously doubt that. You probably saw a lot of those darker traits and you like that. A lot of girls like that. They like, and even girls will say, we like bad boys and assholes. So you always have to be careful with stuff like that. It sounds cute. But just the fact that a girl was with a guy like that, I always have to be suspicious. So this guy says, and he says, Moy, Scrope, Pink Pill, hates trannies, use words like Chad and Stacy. They pretty much ripped off incel culture, but they do not live the incel life. They are posers. Then somebody replied, the word incel was first coined by a woman, so actually you're ripping off femcel culture. And so I wanted to address this because I've heard, I don't know how true this is, but I wanted to address this just in case it's true. So, number one, even if a woman created the term incel, that doesn't mean that a woman can be an incel. That's like if I coin or if I create a term describing some extinct dinosaur or something, or naming some type of animal. I call it the peanut butter Rex or whatever, right? Just pulling shit out of my head. That doesn't mean that I can be a peanut butter Rex because I came up with the term. I just created the shit. I observed a phenomenon and I came up with a word to describe it. Just because you observe something and label it and create a term for it to describe it doesn't mean that that term applies to you and your group. So even if a woman created it, that still doesn't mean that it applies to women. But number two, words also have a tendency to come into a life of their own. It's kind of like how you see different slang words, right? Like with YSL, Young Thug's music label, alleged to be a gang. They use the word slime a lot. Oh, what's up, slime? Oh, slime. That's their little slang to describe each other. Now, slime is like just wet goop, wet goop, snotty type material. But they've taken that and made it to mean something else as a way to refer to each other within their group, right? And so if I start saying slime and using it in the same way that Young Thug and YSL uses it, then I'm taking it from them. I can't just say, well, you didn't make the word slime. Well, yeah, they didn't literally make the word slime, but they took that word and flipped it to mean something else within the context of their group. And so that's what you can say about the word incel. And that's when you go into that deeper level of like, when we use it, it's meant to describe the unique plight and situation and experience of being an unattractive male, lacking in the typical attractive traits that women are drawn to. And so that's why we tend to not take women seriously when they try to describe themselves that way. Not to say that women don't have dating woes, but their woes are much different from the woes of us, or more so unattractive men. So this guy says, man, I'd be so happy if a woman ever talked about me that way. I seriously can't see anyone ever loving me in the way it's described in those posts. I have nothing to offer. I'm just a loser. I wonder why I was born to be so undesirable. I can't see any positives about myself, and it's really hard to muster up any motivation to improve myself when I don't have anyone. I guess I have to try anyways, but fuck, it feels so bad to know that no one would ever feel this way about me. There is no reason I should be loved. In fact, I shouldn't. Reading those really messed up my mood. Now, you guys know I'm Mr. Big Time, MGTOW, herbivore male, Volcel. But when I read this thread, I'm not gonna lie, it stung me too. It stung a little bit because as I was reading this thread, I saw how far removed I am from being the type of man that girls are attracted to. And see, generally speaking, that doesn't really bother me. But I still felt a sting. And, you know, whenever I feel something like that, I take time to reflect on it. I got to understand it. Because I'm like, hold up, gang. You missed the big time MGTOW. Why you worried about that? So I had to think about it. And this is really why I wanted to talk about this. Because I realized something. And it's that despite the fact that I've gone my own way, I fully embraced being single. I've embraced being a virgin. I found happiness, right? Right. You guys know my success story as I live and breathe in my mom's laundry room. Right? You guys know my success story, right? There's still a part of me that's attracted to women. That part of me that going back to being a kid and noticing girls in school, in the classroom, on the playground, and going through puberty and becoming a horny little bastard, and girls going through puberty and seeing girls develop into more mature, you know, sexy, attractive young girls and whatnot, right? Going through that whole, you know, the whole horny teenager process, right? And having crushes on different girls, and, you know, even though I never felt like I needed it, there was still a part of me that wanted it. And I think as I've walked this path of wizardry, so to speak, that part of me has atrophied so much. I mean, it's like a wrinkled, it's like a wrinkled, dried up hand that's like crumpled up and shit, right? Like that part of me has atrophied, but it's still there, right? There's still a part of me that would like to have those experiences. Do I need it? Certainly not. Am I going to lose sleep over not having it? Certainly not. But, you know, there's still part of me that would like to have those experiences. And I think when I read these posts, and then I looked at their boyfriends, or how they described their boyfriends, and I looked at myself and I said, you know what? Damn, like I'm not even close to being good enough. If this is what it takes, and never mind, you know, the physical things that I can't change about myself, because that's part of it, right? But let's be honest, I'm not like some hunchback of Notre Dame. I'm not Elephant Man or some shit. I'm not just some ugly troll ass nigga, right? I think I'm pretty handsome. Actually, you know, I got a small dick. I'm not tall, but, you know, I'm not unreasonable either, right? Despite these things, it's not as if I'm incapable of being able to date and have a cute girlfriend if I had put in, you know, the you know, played the game and put in the right effort, you know the whole thing, right? It's not like I'm some lost cause. I don't have all the favorable traits that they might be attracted to, but I'm not an incel either. And so I look at some of the other things that they listed, right? Like, ex-military and, you know, 300K, great things that I could have done. And I'm thinking about it. I'm reflecting on it. And you know what I realized is that I chose this path. Yes, I'm not a big dick, tall Chad Tyrone. But even without that, if I would have made getting a girlfriend my priority, if I would have done everything according to what it would take to attract, doing whatever is within my power to make myself more attractive to women. If I would have done that, maybe I could have gotten a girl like one of the girls in that thread, right? Maybe I could have had me a nice 6 out of 10 weeb girlfriend if I would have made that the priority, but I didn't. And I have absolutely no regrets about that shit. Could have been in a similar position to some of those guys. If I ever be tall, big dick, I got you. But I could have said, you know what? Girls like money. Right? I could have said girls like money. I could join the military. I'll have my pension, and that'll be something that I can use as leverage on the dating market. But I didn't do that. Oh, you know, girls like Jordans, girls like these types of clothes. I could wear these clothes, you know. I didn't do that. I didn't get my hair cut every 2 weeks. I didn't cold approach girls and deal with their shit test and their bullshit. I didn't chase after them to appease their ego. Right? I didn't do the things that I could have done that could have potentially got me a girlfriend. And I have no regrets about it. I chose the path that I wanted more than anything else. And as I stand, I'm happy. I love myself. I appreciate my life, amongst other things. I love myself to death. Believe me when I say I love myself to death. And even though I'm not exactly where I want to be, I still believe I'm in a good position to where I can uplift myself to a better position in life. I chose my path, and part of that was sacrificing the part of me that wanted a girlfriend, that wanted those experiences, because I knew that the cost was too high. The things that I would have to do were not in line with what I really wanted to do. A fan of mine shared a video with me that it's like a motivational video. And in the background is showing different scenes from one of my favorite animes, Ashita Nojo, you know, the boxing anime. And they're like these wise words from like some writer or philosopher or author that's being said, and it's like it's the narration over the, you know how anime motivation videos work, right? So these wise words are being said over these different clips of the video. And there's a part that resonates with me so much. And I'm paraphrasing here because I kind of forgot exactly what it said, but it says something like, the man realizes that he can't be everything in life. So he makes a choice as to what he's going to be and moves everything else out of the way. That's what I did. I realized that I couldn't be myself and and live my life exactly the way I wanted to and get bitches, right? At least not now. Now, obviously, if I somehow blew up, right? Because, you know, status fixes everything, right? Status, money fixes everything. But as an average man, I knew I couldn't do I couldn't be Mr. doesn't get his hair cut, doesn't wear Jordans, doesn't code approach, doesn't play games, doesn't tolerate female. I can't be that guy and be dating and whatnot. I can't be Mr. live with his mom because I don't want to be a wage slave. I'd rather take it easy, I can't be that guy and get the quality of pussy that I would actually want. So I chose to do exactly what I wanted to do at the expense of potentially becoming the guy that could get a cute girlfriend or get a girlfriend, right? And again, that's really why I wanted to talk about this, because I think that I talk a lot about different dating dynamics, female nature, and black pill, red pill, blue pill shit. But for my own personal situation, for who I am and what I have going for me, like I said, I'm not an incel. I think for me, the simple fact is I didn't want it bad enough. I didn't want it bad enough to put myself in a similar position as the guys described in this post, because had I wanted it bad enough, I could have done the things that some of these guys did, right? If I had the mind to think, okay, well, I'm prioritizing getting bitches, so let me do X, Y, Z. I didn't do that. And again, I have no regrets about that. But I think going through these posts and reading this thread just highlighted that for me. The simple fact that, and this is why I always say I don't try to encourage guys to be like me. Because the simple fact is I never wanted it bad enough. I wanted to live my life the way that I wanted to. I wanted to be myself. I wanted to take it easy. I wanted to chill and be Mr. Herbivore male and not have to deal with relationship woes and drama and having to live up to the standards of. I didn't want to deal with that shit. And that's why I chose the path that I did. And I'm satisfied with that. But the sacrifice that I made, again, was that I couldn't satisfy that part of me that wanted that. I had to sacrifice that and put it to the side. And that's fine. But I think that's a very important point to make, right? Because I think that if you ever see a guy claiming MGTOW, he can say anything he wants to about women, but the main thing is he probably just didn't want it bad enough. And I know it's the case with me. So this guy says, all women want tall men. All women want hung men. All women want attractive men. All women want rich men. This has always been the case, and it will never change. The more of those aspects of women can get in one man, the better. If you don't have any of those, then don't bother trying. Now, I'm not that. It's not that tragic, right? It's not that bad. You see bum ass. You do see bum ass broke ugly dudes getting some action, probably with other broke Landwell type single mother chicks, but I digress. But what he's describing, though, this is what I mean when I say the foundation. Like, these are their foundational trait. These are the foundational traits that women are attracted to, right? Height, hung, aka your sex game, overall attractiveness, wealth. These are the foundational traits. The exterior, the frame that holds it all up. And I never want to imply that women are bad for wanting these things. But it's obvious when you look at those posts, like I said, if the guys didn't have these, if they didn't have the frame, the masculine frame, if you want to call it that, everything else wouldn't matter. Everything else wouldn't matter. I think a girl would rather have these without the cutesy, interesting personality than to have the other personality traits without these masculine frame traits. So this guy says, he's replying to somebody. He says, just an incel. The funny thing is, tall guys are the first to realize this. Other guys have to figure it out. But you think your tall, hot, crushed boyfriend doesn't know. He's the first to know how shallow women are. He just enjoys it. Much like an heiress born into wealth. And he posted this old post from Reddit, but I think it's a good post. And I'll put it here. And so apparently this is a guy this is a tall man giving his tall man perspective. And I had to cover this. So he says, I will be completely frank. Being a tall man is living life on easy mode. Short girls like me because my height is seen as a positive. I get approached at bars even as a married man, and it's always by girls a foot shorter and probably 5 years younger than I am. Tall girls really like me. Probably because they feel they have fewer options and I might be the only one in the room when I was looking to hook up. I usually went straight for them. It was easy to make eye contact and they were always interested. Relationships and hookups were always on my terms. I was not ever afraid to say this is a casual thing only. They didn't go anywhere. I did when I met someone I liked more. I was able to maintain personal standards for relationships that were not realistic for most people. I held on to those standards right up to when I met my wife. Being tall and fit meant I was able to play the field to my heart's content. And then I decided I wanted something more long term, so I met my wife, who is moderately tall, 5'11", had everything I was looking for in a long-term partner, and was well known among her circle for being impossibly choosy. But for every one of me, there's 5 guys who can't get any female attention at all. I feel for those guys. So that's the perspective of the tall man, right? Because a lot of the talk in this thread was about how so many girls listed the height of their boyfriend as this important, attractive trait. And so, of course, naturally, we had to go in on like the whole heightism, lookism aspect of dating and whatnot. That's why he had posted this. But I think it's always interesting getting firsthand accounts from guys who would be considered attractive and are successful with women, because their outlook is just completely different. They see things differently because they have much different results and experiences with women. You know, they don't have to deal with a lot of the the extra efforts and lack of options that less attractive men have to deal with. And so this will be the last one. So this guy says, LMAO, not even close. I'm 5'6", brown eyes, useless, ugly, kind of a retard, average dick. I'm basically the opposite of what's described there. I'm convinced there is no reason anyone should love me. I'm not angry at them. I understand it. I'll try my best to be better, but it still hurts like a motherfucker. I'm telling you, man, that shit, when you read that shit and you don't measure up, well, it really stings a little bit. And so this guy replies to him and says, why be better? Just be worse. Society isn't going to punish you. In fact, if you become the worst possible human being, women will love you for it. Want to hear a fucked up fact? All mass murderers, serial killers receive an enormous amount of female love letters and attention. Elliot Rodgers has a following of female online fans who make videos about them together. It's so fucked up how if you went out today, killed a bunch of people in a horrible way, by next month you have women lining up to have sex with you. Now, look, obviously, don't kill people to get a harem of fangirls. Like, it's not worth it. You'll be in prison getting your cheeks busted, even though you have women on the outside wanting to have sex with you. You can't do anything with them. So obviously that's a bad. But I get the point he's trying to make, right? Because like I said earlier, a lot of girls, they like those dark triad traits. They like assholes and head busters and shit like that. And so that's why you see some guys jokingly say that you should thug max because girls like thug type dudes. But again, I highly recommend against that, because the consequences of engaging in that sort of antisocial behavior are likely to go far beyond the worth and value that you might get out of being more attractive to certain types of women. But then the guy replies back to him and says, like I said, I don't blame women or society for my inadequacy. It's my responsibility to deal with it. I don't want to be the source of unnecessary suffering to people that care about me. Why be better? It's the only way that I'll be I'll maybe achieve what I want. It scares the shit out of me because it forces me to confront what makes me so inadequate. But it's the right thing to do. I don't wish to spread my misery. There is no good reason why others should suffer just because I do. Even though these negative feelings make me wish that I could let everybody know how fucked up I am, that is not what I ultimately want. What I fantasize about is living in a hole in a big city on a somewhat busy street. No one knows I live there. I don't mess with others. I don't have to worry about disappointing them or hurting them. But I just look at other people's lives and wonder what they do. Since I'm alone, I'll be able to die forgotten and without hurting anyone. So this guy doesn't have a terrible attitude. Because, you know, a lot of guys, like Elliot Rodgers, for example, you know, they take their frustrations out on the world. They want to hurt other people. Even worse, they want to hurt innocent people. They feel so much pain, and the only way they feel that they can alleviate that is to make other people feel that pain. And it's nice to see that this guy sees that that's not the way. You know, despite anything that I'm going through, I don't want to make other people suffer unnecessarily because of my bullshit. And he realizes that, you know, at some point he has to confront what makes himself so inadequate. It's the right thing to do. And, you know, I went through the same process. Right now, I didn't do it for the sake of trying to attract women or trying to get a girlfriend, but I still had to look within myself and say, you know what? These are my flaws. These are my weaknesses. These are my shortcomings. And look, some things are out of my control, but there are quite a few things that are within my control. I can develop myself into a better, more productive, capable man. So I'm going to work on that. But the first step is self-reflection, knowing who you are, going within yourself and being honest with yourself about who you are and where you stand. And I remember doing a ton of that throughout my early 20s. And I attribute that process a lot to how I was able to achieve the happiness and the self-love that I enjoy to this day. It's just that for me, it wasn't for the sake of attracting women, right? I did everything that I did was for my own sake, for the most part, just trying to be better for myself so that I could better navigate the world and just enjoy the life that I knew I could enjoy if I overcame my own bullshit, you know. But even looking at this thread, I gotta say, like, I look at some of the traits that their boyfriends have, and I say, you know what? I could do that. I should do that, right? When I see them describing their boyfriend as being like hardworking and focused and having their life together, you know, that's what I want for myself, you know, and there's no excuse why I can't achieve that. And even though a part of me looks at it and says, you know, look, I can't do this. I can, like, right? Again, I'll never be big dick tall Tyrone, but I can be a hardworking man who has his life together. I can be a man who has enough life experience to where I can do different things as far as being able to get through life and overcoming life's adversities. You know, those were the things that stood out to me because I noticed, you know, I can do that. I can do that too, right? And it's not for the sake of trying to get bitches, but it's for my own sake. It's for the sake of living up to my own true potential and being able to get more out of the life that I've learned to value and appreciate so much, right? So I don't want to leave out on this topic on like a pessimistic note, because really I found it to be somewhat inspiring, because we can look at the things that we can't change, the things that these guys have and like, you know, green eyes and the height and the this and the that. But if you're really aware, you will also see the things that you too can do to make yourself better, and not necessarily for the sake of women, but for yourself. And that's how I'm looking at it, right? Like, you know what? Yeah, I want that, right? Yeah, maybe I could make myself more intelligent or more well-read, you know, reading more books and being able to dive more deeply into different topics and whatnot, cultivating my own mind and knowledge. I can get myself in better shape. I can make more money, right? But again, for me, it's for me and trying to be my best, right? If at any point I get a girlfriend based on, my development as a man, that's cool, but that's never been my goal. I never wanted that to begin with. And that was the main topic. I hope you guys enjoy that. And next, we're going to get into the comments, and then we're going to get out of here. So let's get to it. Okay, so we are back and it is time for the comments. Just give me a second here. I'm a little all over the place. My favorite time of the day. Let's see here. Let's see. 1 second, please, guys. Okay, here we go. So let's answer some of these comments. So, haha, what a story mark says on the Nightwalk vlog, never been the need to the forces of the clown world video. Having an opinion that deviates from the norm is extremely dangerous these days. Even for regular people, if you get canceled, that's pretty much lights out. And yes, I went in depth on that as far as like talking about how, and this is especially true in Hollywood and the circle of famous, popular people and whatnot, because you got to understand, and this has been true. This has been true for quite a while, but you notice how when somebody gets famous, they tend to go to certain platforms, right? Like there was a time when, okay, once you get famous, then you go on various like late night talk shows and whatnot, not to promote yourself. You might have you might do a few skits on Saturday Night Live, right? Nowadays you'll show up on like different big podcasts or something like that, right? And it's like when you're accepted within that circle, you're promoted, you're given opportunities, you're given roles. You might be more likely to collaborate with certain people. You might be more likely to get certain roles in a movie, right? Like you're probably not going to see Kyrie Irving getting a significant role in a Hollywood movie or something like that, because he's on the wrong side of the fence right now. Same thing with like Kanye. And so that's part of the reason why it's important for you to stay in the good graces of what I call, or rather what I got this term from Patrice O'Neal, but I call it the beast, right? And that's the inner circle of Hollywood, of mainstream media and whatnot. You have to be on their good side in order for them to promote you and say good things about you and whatnot. If not, then it's going to be a bit harder for you. And that's why canceling is such an effective thing, because a lot of these celebrities, they're dependent on that acceptance, because that's how they make their money. And I know I mentioned Kai Cenat earlier. He's going through this whole situation where the girl said she was raped, at his party by one of his friends and whatnot. And right now he's doing damage control. And you have to understand why that's so important, because if he comes out on the other end of this as the bad guy, he's going to lose opportunities. He's going to lose money. He could get kicked off of Twitch. I doubt that will happen, right? Based on the evidence. But I'm just saying, like, that's why it's so important, because you see what happened with Andrew Tate and some of these other guys where they get deplatformed and whatnot. And a specific reason will be given, but I don't buy that, right? Like the whole Alex Jones situation with his Sandy Hook conspiracies. That wasn't the reason, that was the excuse to deplatform him. They wanted him gone anyway because he was already on, he had opinions that deviated from the norm. But yeah, this is extremely dangerous when you talk for celebrities and people who are trying to become social media influencers and whatnot, because it's the powers that be that control these spaces, you know, they are set on a certain side, and if you go against that, then you're not going to benefit from being in their good graces. Now, even like you said, for regular people, it can be dangerous as well. That's why I tend to hide my power level. Like I remember when Trump had won the election, and you know, I live in the black community, and you know, most black people didn't like Trump, and I wasn't a Trump supporter, but I wasn't hysterical about him winning, because I've learned not to put my faith in politicians anyway. You know, we had 8 years of a black president, and nothing of significance really changed for black people. Like what did he really do for us that elevated us to a new level, right? We had all these hopes and dreams surrounding his, right? So I'm already jaded on that whole believing in in politicians, that the president is going to change the world and all that. So I was more neutral about it. And I would be in situations where people were talking bad about Trump, and I kind of just had to keep my mouth shut, right? Because it wasn't worth it. And I didn't want to put myself out there like that. If I had to, I would. But most of the situations I found myself in, it wasn't worth getting into a argument with some random person that I don't even know. But once you reveal yourself to have certain opinions and whatnot, yeah, even amongst your friends and social circle, it can have an effect on you. So say Tori Blue says, Chad, you're on the same video. Chad, you're too smart. They're gonna come after you. You know, I think about stuff like this sometimes, because I know that me and some of my opinions, I know I have quite a few opinions that would potentially get me in trouble with the forces of Clown World. So I anticipate these sort of things. You know, the good thing about being a small or low level content creator is that you don't have to worry about these things. But obviously I would hope to become bigger, but I know that what comes with that is that everything that I say, everything that I do is going to be put under a microscope. And I already know that I've said and done things that would quote unquote get me in trouble with Clown World. But I've accepted it. I've accepted it. It is what it is. You know, I look at Patrice O'Neal as inspiration, so to speak, because when I listened to his interviews before he died, I could tell that his thing, and there are several other people who do it the same way. His thing was, look, I'm gonna say what I want to say. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and if that means that I'm gonna have to operate on a smaller scale, so be it, right? And that's pretty much what I've accepted. What you have to understand is that even though there's this whole thing with canceling people and people having a target on their back and being attacked and shamed and having to deal with different accusations and whatnot, there's still a place for you to express yourself. There's still a way. Like you see that despite what's happened to people like Alex Jones, Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, Stephen Molyneux, you know, these guys, they still find a way to keep moving forward, right? The true fans and supporters of their content are going to always have their back. And even if you're not able to become as big as you possibly could because of your opinions, I think you can still find a way to do enough, right? To where you can live the sort of life that you want and be free. And sometimes that's all you need. A lot of times what gets people caught up and makes these celebrities silence themselves and not openly express themselves is that they know that if they say or do certain things, they're going to lose their job and they're going to lose certain opportunities, and they don't want to do that. And again, it's understandable, but I don't worry about it too much because I think that regardless of that, there's value. Well, one, it's a principle thing, right? I got to keep it 100. I got to stay true to who I am, even if that means people not liking me, right? But the other thing too is, I just believe that when you do that, other people who are real like you, other people who see what you see, they back you up. They support you. That's what I'm seeing too alongside all of this clown world nonsense. And even if that means that, again, I'll get shamed or attacked or whatever, I'll take that because I know that there's a place for me in the world as someone who's real and true to himself and can see through a lot of the bullshit that's going on in our society. So Pumpkin says on the same video, I like your music, I like your reviews, but I also really enjoy videos like this because these thoughts are so deep and really give you something to think about for the next few hours. Yeah, I'm not just some, look man, I don't just pee in bottles. But seriously though, I recognize that. And I'm glad you recognize that too. But I have so much more value outside of just making catchy music and talking about anime and how crazy modern women are and shit like that. And that's why, moving forward, I want to dive more into different subjects and topics. Because for me, as far as my goals for being a content creator and this YouTube channel and wherever I may be on the internet, of course I want to entertain you guys, but I also want to be someone who provides valuable information and insight into various aspects of life, the world, politics, science, philosophy, relationships, health, and whatnot, right? But again, that requires me to be honest, and sometimes being honest can get you in trouble. So you gotta play that game kind of carefully. But I appreciate that. William Dafoe says on the same video, who remembers the fiasco with the Brett Kavanaugh hearings? It's this exact routine. You should look into the Manafort scandal. It was a bunch of politicians colluding with half the top brass of the U.S. military to get rid of the other half, the top brass that wasn't politically aligned with them. This is their MO. And if they can't get you with accusatory stuff, you get Epstein, aka you get suicided. Quote unquote suicide. Right? Murder by suicide. Oh boy, that's crazy. But yeah, that's this one of the most powerful tools. And I talked about this earlier with Andrew Tate, is these whole sexual assault, rape, whatever type accusations. It's a potent poison. It's like a poisonous arrow in Skyrim with the most potent poison you can make with alchemy. You combine that shit with an ebony bow with the lightning enchantment. It's potent, man. And it doesn't matter if you did it or not. It's just once you get accused, there are so many people that are just gonna blindly believe it, regardless of if there's any reason for them to believe it or not. I mean, you look at the Brett Kavanaugh situation, right? That's a good one because other than that, what evidence, like what can you say about his character? What evidence do you have about his character that would say, okay, maybe he did it? This came completely out of the blue. And yet he had to go through hell to fight through that. He had to go through hell. And you gotta think, man, like this man, I'm sure he had children, you have family, and they're all seeing this. And I'm sure they support him, but then it's a terrible situation to go through. And I think that it's not just about turning the people against you. I think it's also an attempt to mentally break you. Really. And I think about stuff like this, and that's why I like, you guys don't know, but like I'm training myself mentally, because I don't know what I might have to deal with in the future. I might not always be some small time content creator, right? I might find myself in the crosshairs of some bullshit. And like, that's why I really, what Kai Sennett is going through right now, I feel for that man, because you know he is going through it right now. He is going through some shit. I hope he gets through it. But man, this shit is serious. It's really crazy, man. I think Kanye though. I think Kanye might be the most resilient out of a lot of the guys that I've seen. Most of his issue, I don't think he cares so much about the public backlash. I think he's legitimately more concerned about the rift between him and his family. But he might be one of the more resilient guys who's going through this right now, because I mean he's just trucking forward, man, like a tank. So Jim Flam says on my 7-day YouTube suspension video, unfortunately, I think the only reason Odyssey and other platforms allow more freedom is because they're a smaller competitor to YouTube. But if the day came that they got on the same level of popularity as YouTube, they'd be subject to the same groups that censor things on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, etc. I'm not saying it's not worth it to re-upload onto other platforms, because your content should be out there to enjoy easily. But the way technology and politics are going is very grim, and this is only one aspect of a huge problem. And I completely agree. You know, remember, there was a time on YouTube where you didn't see a lot of these rules and guidelines, right? Like, it was really a time where it was like a wild, wild west sort of social media platform, in a way, where you didn't have to worry so much about like copyright strikes. And remember when there weren't ads all over the place and stuff like that. But you know, once YouTube became profitable, significantly profitable, that's when people started, you know, realizing, hey, we gotta, and some of it is fair, right? Like music companies, record labels saying, hey, you can't use our music for your video, and you have it monetized, right? At least let us get a cut. Like, it's fair. Don't get me wrong, some of it is actually fair. But these are the sort of issues that are going to come with running a social media platform as it becomes easier. Because now you got to worry about things like, copyrighted music in the background. You know, that was something that happened with Twitch streamers as well. You see a lot of people playing Grand Theft Auto with the music turned off, right? Because there's so much copyrighted music in it. But that's just one issue, right? And as it gets bigger, another thing that happens is there are going to be random lawsuits against your platform, right? Or quote unquote random, right? And everybody doesn't want to deal with stuff like that. If you remember, YouTube used to be run by like regular dudes, like I think 2 regular guys at some point. Then they sold it for millions. And that's how it got into the hands of Google. Google pretty much absorbed that shit like Majin Buu and became more powerful. But it used to be run by, I think, like just 2 pretty much regular guys. But as it got bigger, they were like, you know what? Instead of running this shit, let's just get the money and give it up. And kind of similar with 4chan in a way, except 4chan didn't get absorbed by Google. It got Moot passed it over to that Asian fella. But as social media platforms get bigger, it becomes more of a headache to run. And the people who are running it, they have a tendency to just want to cash out and move on. So Blue says, on my 7-day YouTube suspension, hey, my guess is that the episode that got taken down was OCM 22. Exactly. Have you uploaded that podcast anywhere else? If not, it's probably a good idea to re-upload all of your YouTube content to a free platform. I did not. That episode is gone forever. The episode is gone forever. I think that was the episode that I posted right after Friender had died. And you're exactly right. So what I'm doing now, the good thing is I have most of my videos I have backed up. So don't be worried. But there are some videos. There were some videos because I have like, I have different hard drives and laptops and shit I got some stuff over here, some stuff over there. So the early OCM Botcast episodes got lost when one of my hard drives died. So that's why I don't have 22 anymore. So I'm going to download all the episodes and re-upload them somewhere else. So it'll be there, right? But yeah, you're absolutely right, because YouTube, who knows when they might snatch my channel away from me. But like I said, most of the videos are good. I have a whole archive. I have like from all of my content creation, I have like 90% of it backed up. Now I think the only thing, this is the one thing that would get lost for sure, because I just don't have enough space for it. My video game live streams, I don't keep those backed up because I just don't have enough room to back all of those up. So the backup for that literally is my gaming YouTube channel. I don't know if I should just upload them somewhere else as well, but that's the one. If my YouTube got snatched, right, that's gone, right? Those live streams. But I do keep the actual like the episode formatted playthroughs and shit like that. But the video game live streams, oh yeah. But I do have to go back and download those older OCM Botcast episodes before, because you just never know, right? Because I have controversial opinions. So 360 No Scope Johnson says on the security protocol for rappers video, why do they do it? Can't they just be happy for each other? I never understood niggas killing niggas. It's different reasons for it. And I think one of the best videos that you could refer to get an understanding of this is the famous Lil Bootsy interview with Vlad TV, where he talked about how the reason why a lot of rappers get killed is because the people around them are hypnotized with hatred. And what he was explaining is that, in the hood, in the projects and whatnot, there are a lot of predators. And someone like a rapper is a very tempting, succulent a meal for the predators of the hoods and the projects and the ghettos. And a lot of us come from areas like that, or we grew up around people from areas like that. And we tend to operate around. It's just one of those things. And again, rappers are a target because they tempt the predators too much, right? And see, one aspect of it is jealousy. You have guys, they see you with the nice cars. They see you with the baddest bitches. You're probably fucking their sisters. The girls they want to fuck, their cousins, right? They see you with the money. People love you. When they turn on the TV, they see you. When they turn on the radio, they hear you. When they get on social media, they see you, they hear you, right? When they going through random TikTok videos, they hear, right? And that builds up, right? That jealousy, like, I'm not him, I'll probably never be him. I'm not talented. All I know how to do is rob people and sell drugs. And I'm not even great at that. And so that's one aspect of it. It's just that jealousy and that envy. They want to take you down a peg. They want to bring you down to their level. I can't be you. I can't be friends with you or nothing. I can't make it into your circle. Let me just kill you. That's all I can do is take from you. All I can do is take your things and take your life. And the other aspect of it too is just that as a rapper, you're also seen as being a walking lick. Because a lot of rappers, they walk around with jewelry, different valuables, they're riding nice cars, they have nice homes. So you're a target for that reason as well, because a lot of these predators, they know if I go after him, I could get a life-changing amount of money, right? If I rob him, I'm getting 20,000, 40,000, 60,000, right? Either in hard cash, jewelry, his car, break into his home, whatever. Like you know, you're getting thousands of dollars if you rob a rapper at the right moment. Some rappers just don't move like that, but you know, it depends. But that's part of it too. And you got to think, there are people out here that they rob corner stores. They rob little Arab corner stores for a couple $100. You got guys kicking in doors, stealing PS4s and flat screens, and getting caught because they sell it and trade it, right? Like guys, right? Guys would go to prison over a couple $100 and shit, like for life, trying to steal it, right? So yeah, I think it's a combination of jealousy, hatred, and desperation for a come up. And so rappers are just a great, and I think that, and see, this is another layer that's kind of on the spiritual woo side. But I think also rappers have a tendency to attract a certain energy. And I think a lot of it has to do with the image you put out and the energy of your music. Because you notice how rappers like Tyler the Creator, Earl Sweatshirt, Logic, Russ, Lil Yachty, like you notice how the rappers who don't rap about street stuff, they tend to be the least likely to get robbed and killed in situations. You notice most of the rappers that get killed either have a street background or they rap about street stuff. Not all the time, but the mass majority of them have a street background. And I think, and again, this is spiritual tinfoil hat, Chad Marco. I think that the energy you put out, in a lot of ways, is the energy you will receive. And a lot of these guys, they put out street, hard, gangster energy, and that's what they attract. A lot of these street guys, these predators, they're not checking for Earl Sweatshirt mixtape, right? Like if Earl Sweatshirt is pulling up to their city for a show, they probably don't even know. But when Lil Durk show up, everybody know. When Lil Baby show up, everybody know. Right? So, but that's my interpretation of that. So Moonbase Monk Mode says on the Why I Wouldn't Fuck a Trap video, femboy boyfriend, tomboy girlfriend, master race. I've done a few traps. X work thing is true. And by X work, he means working in pornography in one shape or one form or another. Even ones that weren't ended up turning into one later. I got molested on the street once. Actually hot though, LOL. Also, there's usually drugs. Last nut I had on poppers was really good though. Some people do meth though. HIV, always a threat, made me quit while ahead. There is preventive med called PrEP, but that's gay, LOL. As for labeling, yes, I do feel insecure and dislike the potential of being auto-rejected by like 90% of women, but we shouldn't be casting a wide net for them anyway, and Fujoshi girls exist and Japanese symbols. So Moonbase has some experience in the trap game, obviously, but one of the, I was basically listing like several reasons why I wouldn't want to date a trap, right? Despite being a fan of the trap porn genre. And one of the things I talked about was how most of them are involved in some form of like the production of pornography. And for me personally, I know maybe it sounds a bit hypocritical as someone who indulges in pornography, but for someone to be in a relationship with, that's not something that I really want to be an element in our particular relationship. And I don't think that's wrong, right? That's kind of like when girls say they don't want to date a guy in the military or police. That doesn't mean they hate them. It's just that there are certain issues that come with that they don't want to deal with, right? And so that's, to me, I just think that's unattractive, especially if you're someone who's making content with like random people and stuff like that, because I see a lot of people, and this is especially true with like transsexuals and trannies and traps who make amateur porn. Like a lot of the guys they work with are kind of random, really, just random dudes. I'm sure they might like vet them a little bit, but I mean, I've seen some where it's like they got a different dude every video. Like it's really some crazy shit. And that, you know, how you gonna build a serious relationship with somebody like that? I don't know. He says HIV always a threat, made me quit while ahead. And see, that's another big one too. You know, I know some people don't like some people take this conversation the wrong way. But this is just the facts. This isn't me being mean or nothing like that. You can go to the CDC website and see everything I said is 100% accurate, right? The simple fact is, if you're a man and you're having sex with other men, you are at a greater risk of catching STDs, in particular HIV and certain other ones, than men who only have sex with women. That's just a cold, hard fact. Now, you can take that and say, okay, I won't have sex with men, or you can take that and say, look, I'm going to be fucking dudes, but I'll protect myself better. That's why they have things like PrEP, right? They have like different, it's different ways to approach dealing with it, right? But for me, it's not even important enough to play that game. I'd rather just stay out of it completely, right? But it's no different than like even just having sex with black women, right? You have an increased chance of catching certain STDs, right? But whenever you call out a specific demographic for facts like that, people tend to take it the wrong way, right? Like when a white guy calls out the black murder rate, right? 13% of the population, but right? People take shit like that the wrong way. But it's the ugly truth more than anything else. And he says, yes, I do feel insecure and just like the potential of being auto-rejected by like 90% of women. And see, that's another thing too. A lot of girls, it's kind of funny because girls seem to be the most pro-LGBT group in the world. Like right, like all in, right? And a lot of girls tend to be bisexual themselves. But when you actually look into it and you research and look into conversations of girls when they're asked would they date a guy who's bisexual or a guy who has had sex with men in the past, a lot of them don't like that shit. They find it absolutely disgusting. I mean, I couldn't believe some of the things that I read from women, how they described how disgusting and gross they think guys are, in particular bisexual men, right? And look, that's a whole podcast in of itself. I didn't even go in on that, but that's a very interesting phenomenon, right? Because girls have this image of like being, you know how the girls have the gay friend, right? The gay pet friend and shit like that, right? And so you would think, and then a lot of girls being bisexual themselves, you would think that overwhelmingly girls wouldn't have an issue with it, but they actually do. It's a very fascinating phenomenon and conversation, and we'll definitely dive into that later. But me personally, I don't worry about shit like that because I don't worry about girls liking me anyway. Right? So that's why that doesn't really bother me. I'm sure a lot of girls will be turned off by the fact that, I like tranny porn and shit like that. But I don't really care because, again, I'm not invested in being successful with women anyway. So if I find a rare girl who's cool with it, cool. If they all hate me for it, that's cool too. I got plenty of porn. Oh man. So Pineapple Activist says on the security protocol for rappers video, I would have used DoorDash if I was PNB Rock because he got robbed and killed at I think it was like a chicken and waffles place, like some type of like I forgot the name of it. It wasn't Waffle House. It was another place. But I forgot the exact name. But yeah, he was out getting some fast food and just, lost his life. But unfortunately, when you're famous, you got to move differently. You something as simple as just going out to eat with family or your girl. That could be the end of you, right? It's that simple. Like you have to move. You have to move very careful when you're famous. You got to be very low key. You got to stay under the radar. If you can afford it, you got to have security. You don't want to be locked in the house all day, obviously, but you got to be extremely careful. And so Dubs, the wizard, you ain't no goddamn wizard, said Takeoff from the Migos got shot by Quavo's bodyguard and killed literally yesterday. These comments are old, by the way, kind of like oldish. He got killed quite a while ago. They were uncle and nephew too. Yeah, Takeoff got killed, and I never put a video out really going in depth talking about that. But I had tweeted, I said, I hate to say it, but if you care about your life, you gotta stay away from black people. you gotta stay away from black people. Now, I'm sure some people would take that the wrong way, Uncle Tom and this and that. But dude, this is the simple fact. This is a simple fact. Most of these rappers who are getting killed, they're getting killed while they're surrounded by their own people. You're getting killed while you're surrounded by black people. It's not the white racist cop that's dragging these young men out of the car and lining them up to get shot, right? Like that's the anomaly. The simple fact is, the biggest threat to a black man's life, other than heart disease, is another black man. We have a unique issue of violence amongst ourselves and in our community. And I'm not saying like to literally never be around black people, but I think that you have to read the energy of every place that you're going to. It's just like how recently at the latest Gervonta Davis fight, that arena had a hood. That energy was straight hood. That was not Vegas. That was not no high scale, top of the line Vegas arena. No, the energy of that place was straight hood. And guess what? There was a fight that almost broke out between Meek Mill and one of the other boxers that was there because they were arguing over some bullshit, right? And it got so serious, people were running and yelling. They had to stop the fight. They stopped the fight for like 2 minutes while they figured out what was happening because they was afraid that a shootout was going to start, right? And so that's what I mean. Like, you just going to certain places, certain clubs and shit. Like, you don't hear about white clubs. Like, dude, you don't hear about white clubs where they're playing EDM getting shot up randomly, right? You don't go to the white people club and think, oh, I gotta have the shotgun in the trunk and shit like that. But dude, going to a black club is, before you go, you gotta get ready like you about to go to war. I got my knife, I got a handgun, I got a shotgun in the trunk, I got a bulletproof, I got 8, 9, 10 niggas with me to protect me. Like, you can't just go to a black club and relax, right? You gotta be on guard. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, we just have a unique issue of violence amongst ourselves. And I think that a lot of rappers, what happens is, despite the fact that they start making more money and they are in position to change their environment, they still hang around too many street guys. I know that the event that Quavo and Takeoff was at was kind of private. It wasn't like just anybody could be around. But there was still a lot of street guys there. Undeniably, there was still a lot of street dudes there. And that's the type of element that you have to separate yourself from. The second you're in position to do that, you have to separate yourself from that type of environment. Because we don't see this sort of thing happening with our artists in other genres. We don't hear about a country singer getting shot and killed every week. Rock stars, metal, we don't hear about that. EDM producers. We don't hear about these types of artists dying like this all the time. It's rappers. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we don't separate ourselves from the street element. We don't separate ourselves from people who have that street energy in them. And so we end up getting caught up in street bullshit. So Antoine Auro Anderson says on the Unusual Night Shift beat, cutthroat in strange ways, cut through these deranged days, floating like a ghost, a sea of opium days with some concrete eyes that bleed, shine a decayed gaze and bruised feet, night walks in the fourth dimension. I forgot to hit the read more, but he was dropping bars on that dope Unusual Night Shift beat. And on the same video, Front Porch says, this is so dope, man. And Blue says, I know that was a fantastic beat. I outdid myself. I know. But on the Nightwalk vlog, episode 25, I'm glad I never became a stoner. BT says, had many pothead friends in high school, but never got into it personally. Gives you mood swings and makes your brain slow in the long term. Seeing some people bad in the cycle of smoking nonstop, not worth it to me. Never wanted to be a slave to a plant like that. Even before, bro, you're a slave to other things you like, her. And then Hillbreaker says, facts. What I was talking about in the video was how I noticed that quite a few of my friends got caught in that cycle of just smoking way too much weed. And the worst thing that I noticed was just how far too often the priority became getting up money to buy weed, buying weed, smoking weed, and doing it again. That was the issue. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of these guys, they would smoke and still handle business, like, working a job or running errands, doing chores, like, just smoke before you clean the car or smoke before you go out and pay, right? I'm not saying like they would just smoke and melt into the car, but when you do that every day of every year, it does stifle your potential. It does stifle your creativity. And I just noticed that with a lot of the guys that I came up with before we started smoking weed, it just seemed like we were a lot more creative. It seemed like we did, or you clean the car or smoke before you go out and pay, right? I'm not saying like they would just smoke and melt into the car, but when you do that every day of every year, it does stifle your potential. It does stifle your creativity. And I just noticed that with a lot of the guys that I came up with before we started smoking weed, it just seemed like we were a lot more creative. It seemed like we did a greater variety of activities because if we were bored, we wanted to find something to do. And the issue became that with weed was always something to do. So I think it killed our creativity as far as finding interesting things to do, right? Because we would spend an hour or so just trying to get weed and rolling up and all of that, and then we got to go off into a car and hot box. That's 20-30 minutes. Then you got to go and sit down and right, and just being high as hell and trying to figure out what you want to do, but you can't really focus. And when you're doing that every day, it really adds up. And not only that, the money aspect of it, because if you smoke like $10 a weed a day, that's $70 a week. That's $140 every 2 weeks, right? That's let me see, that adds up. And a lot of us, we don't have it like that. I mean, it's cool if you got money and you're like a Wiz Khalifa type that can just smoke and grind it all day, but most guys are not built like that. I think for a lot of guys that I know, I think that it really does more harm than good. Not saying that they have to quit, but I think that a lot of the people I know will benefit from cutting back. So Outlaw Otaku says on the same video, weed is so bad for you in 2022, it isn't even funny. This ain't the stuff grown in some dingy basement from the 70s. The weed of today is bred and cultivated to be as potent as possible. You are practically playing Russian roulette if you get schizophrenia or psychosis every time you smoke. Not to mention absolutely obliterating your brain cells. It's not coincidence that mental health worldwide has gone straight off the cliff ever since this stuff became legal. And it's definitely gotten a lot stronger. I've heard so many people say that. My mom even said it, like the weed is much stronger. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the technology of growing it and cultivating it has advanced to where, you know, they can do specific things to add more THC content and things like that. I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard that part of the reason why marijuana is a lot more potent is not just because the THC content is higher, but they've also significantly reduced the CBD content in marijuana. And apparently CBD is what balances out the THC, right? That's why I switched to smoking CBD, because it was more relaxing than anxiety producing. So that could be one reason why the weed is a lot stronger. And another thing is this: within marijuana culture, there really isn't any sort of rules or understanding about the need for moderation. You know, when it comes to alcohol, despite all the negatives associated with that vice, at least there's an understanding that you should drink responsibly and whatnot, right? Like you see like alcohol commercials promoting different beers and wines or whatever they say. They always say drink responsibly, things like that, you know. People know, know your limit, right? Don't get blackout drunk. Women are taught not to get drunk in uncomfortable situations, right? There's an understanding that you need to practice moderation and understanding what your limits are. With marijuana, that just doesn't exist. There is no limit. With marijuana, it's cool to be able to smoke more weed than the next guy. Like, that's part of the culture. Like, when you start smoking, that's considered tapping out, right? Like, you're weak. Like, you can't hang, you can't smoke with a real nigga. Right? That's part of the culture. So there isn't an understanding and appreciation for moderation when it comes to marijuana consumption, when it comes to smoking weed. And I'm not the most well informed on the connection between marijuana smoking and schizophrenia and psychosis, but I've heard plenty of stories about that. I've heard plenty of stories of people saying that they had a mental break, or they had a moment of psychosis after smoking a lot of weed or whatever. And I've also heard stories of people saying they developed schizophrenia alongside smoking weed. So you hear that. And, you know, I've had enough like bad highs, you know, like bad trips where I had a lot of anxiety and paranoia. And I can see why stuff like that could fuck you up mentally. Now, thankfully, after every bad trip, I recovered completely. But keep in mind, I was never a heavy smoker anyway. You know, you got guys out there smoking blunt after blunt after blunt, 7, 8, 9, 10 blunts a day. I barely smoke one blunt a day and still could barely handle that, right? So you can only imagine, you know, when people go really hard with it, yeah, it could probably cause some sort of mental damage or damage to the mind that they're unaware of. So Dubs the Wizard says on the same video, I started smoking about 4 months ago for the first time since I was 16, and now I just smoked 17 grams in 2 days. See, this is the guy who's gonna this is how you develop schizophrenia. I mainly smoke backwoods, and I love to cram in as much as I can without damaging the leaf. I hate backwoods. Backwoods are just way too harsh. It seems like backwoods overwhelm the marijuana, like I taste more backwoods than weed, but I digress. But regardless, my intake is kind of ridiculous, and it means the quality of the weed I smoke can't be the best. Every time since I get good weed, I'll smoke it up in a day. Normally I get 3 ounces of shake for $40 in Oklahoma from a legal weed store. My cousin is currently showing me how to grow marijuana indoors, and I'll purchase $350 grow tent with a $250 hydroponic system. I plan on using this setup to grow some Melf Ido flowers. Yeah, I mean, look, man, if you can handle it, that's cool. Just make sure everything you're doing is legal, right? I know some places have dispensaries, but they can be kind of iffy on like if you're growing it yourself. So make sure that you're on the right side of the law. But I don't want to see you getting in trouble. Like, oh, they found Dubs with fucking bales of marijuana in his house. I don't want to see you go down some dumb shit. But that was the comments, and that was the episodes. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And on the next episode, I will be covering our favorite serial killer, the Unabomber. I'm going to be going into his manifesto more than anything else. So I'm going to talk about, his life and the maimings and killings that he was able to do by dropping off various types of homemade explosions, his philosophy, and his manifesto. The long-awaited Unabomber episode is finally coming, so make sure you guys check out the next episode of the podcast. And with that said, I'm getting out of here, so Johnny.